settling and start with crushing my hope. I won't miss a word you say, so don't be slick with me. You don't have the Holy Spirit, can't rely on them like me. I'm a different creature, you don't fit up in the mix with me. You just need to give your life to Jesus, you unfit to preach. I don't hate it all, but some of y'all be trying to break the law. I'm just trying to help you elevate before you face the Lord. See you rise above all of that anger and that hate before the day you fall, and all that pride and rage no longer takes you forward. Pray my Lord forgives you when you disrespect his name, when you changing up the scripture with your twisted little games. Bro, we won't accept the scripture with the sickness it contains. If your aim is to convince me, bring your wisdom, don't complain. This the cross unit, aka the Lord's movement. For you this unfortunate, y'all love to play Judas. Oh, you got the verses to the but my God do it. Oh, you finna learn today this Christian not stupid. Cross unit, whoop whoop. Cross unit, amen. 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 It's brother Maverick. Don't make a statement when you come up that you may pretend. Don't be just asserting lame positions that you can't defend. I'm here to debate the truth right now, not just to make a friend. Day I sense the demons in your voice, that's when my patience ends. Make no sense of what exactly are you bragging over. I hope you reflect on this today, that your anger sobers. I ain't handing over no control to random copers who cannot control their own emotions. Let the damn flow over, you don't get it, you don't know cause you don't introspect. You about it, I can tell you run scripts up on the net. Always leaning on emotion, bro, to use your intellect. Where you always waffle talking over proves your ill intent. Your prophet had no morals, someone should've called police upon him. Cause his story was so awful, he was also very boring. Try to stay awake through it, but it don't leave me snoring. The result of authorship when logic is completely foreign. It's the cross unit, aka the Lord's movement. For you this unfortunate, y'all love to play Judas. Oh, you got the verses to the but my God do it. Oh, you finna learn today this Christian not stupid. Cross unit, whoop whoop. Cross unit, amen. 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 It's brother Maverick. Hey, hey, it's brother Maverick. Hey, let's go. It's brother Maverick. Hey, hey, it's brother Maverick. Hey, let's go.
Good afternoon to everybody. Thank you guys to everybody who's joined and listen, guys, especially on the other side, not on TikTok, but on the other side. Usually I do go live around this time, just, depending on what's going on. However, we're going live an hour earlier on all platforms today due to the fact that I have to start work an hour early. Do not worry, guys. That is not going to be a regular thing. That's actually extraordinarily rare. But I do have a core audience that I do love hanging out with. So it's crazy that, no matter when I go live, it seems like people just flock to the ministry. And I'm so blessed because of that, guys. At the end of the day, in the name of the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit, it's because of that. It's because of the triune God that people continue to come here. It has nothing to do with me. Anybody could be sitting here. Anybody could sit here doing what I'm doing. I'm not special. I am but a wisp in the wind. I am but a servant of the Lord. I am but a worker of the gospel. But Jesus Christ is the reason why we all do this. So thank you all for being here. We're going to start off with John chapter 3, verse 17. Everybody knows 3:16, but then everybody forgets to think about how important John 3:17 is as well, guys. God did not send his son into the world to condemn the world, but to save the world through him. Let's do a quick intro prayer, guys. Holy and heavenly Father, thank you for choosing to be with those of us who are contrite and repentant and who long for your presence. You know we are only mortal broken, but still you choose to love in Jesus. You know that we are deeply flawed, but you've redeemed us. You know that we are not perfect, but God sent Jesus as the perfect sacrifice to save us. Thank you. Through your Son and my Savior, Jesus of Nazareth, the Christ and the Son of God, I offer you my sincerest gratitude, praise, and life. Amen and amen. Welcome, Sister Peace Apologetics, who has been, since last here, done her first YouTube Live.
God bless. Thank you.
Big golf clap on that one. Big golf clap.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here. Happy birthday again. Happy
Thank
late
you.
birthday.
Yeah, I was very nervous the whole time, so don't judge me on my first live.
No, are you kidding me? It's different, man. It's different when you got to show your face and you got to have the personality. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, no, you held up very well under pressure. It's not easy. A lot of people think this is easy. It's not. You suffer enough.
And then you go through the typical, like, afterwards. You're like, dang, I should have said this, and I completely forgot all about this. And it's just so much.
You want to know a secret? That never stops. You're always going to forget something no matter how hard you try. every time somebody says something, you'd be like, man, I really should have said that. And then, you know what I mean? It's a learning curve, man. Welcome to the stream 09. Your number is in Arabic. I can't read it, but then what I see is like 0999, bunch of stuff. Can you hear me, brother?
Hey, yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, what's up, man?
Yeah. So first of all, I'd like to say happy birthday to Peace. So I hope that's
thank you
gonna be good.
so much, brother.
And just to be honest, I saw your daughter. She looks almost exactly like someone I know. So she's very cute. Yeah. So yeah.
Mashallah,
I
Habibi.
mean, mashallah, yes, mashallah. So
You
So, yeah,
are
so of course
you are
it's
Muslim, I'm
important
assuming,
to
right,
have-
brother?
I'm a Muslim, yeah. So
Okay.
of course, when you're talking with people of the different faith, it's important to be respectful. We're all humans.
Amen.
Yeah. There's a lot that joins us together. We believe in one God. Okay, we believe in Abraham, all these different prophets.
Okay.
And most importantly, when we're having interfaith discussions, it's important to be respectful.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'm not here for a debate. I'm here for a discussion,
Sure.
interfaith discussion.
So what you want to talk about? So
Hopefully
there's
both
two
of us
questions.
will learn more.
Yeah, there's two questions on the
yes.
prompt. It's college choice, whichever one you want to approach. Why should I become a Muslim?
Okay.
Or did Muhammad ever meet Gabriel?
So I'm gonna go with the first question because the second question I think
Wait,
isn't.
a quick pause, brother. The chat on TikTok is saying they can't hear you.
They can't hear.
They really can't hear me.
Yeah, I think you're.
No,
Oh,
you, brother Maverick. They can't hear you.
Oh, they can't hear me? Hello.
We can hear a lot of background noise from your side.
Yeah, there is a lot of background noise. But
On
I
my
can
side?
hear you okay. Yeah, there's background noise on your side, but I can hear you okay.
Okay, let me see. I think because my daughter's watching right behind me, that's why. So give me a second, guys.
No, you're good. You're fine.
Oh, okay. I just need to make sure because that sometimes the panel can hear you and the audience can't.
Yeah.
So
Is that a little bit
I just
better?
wanna make sure.
You guys still getting a little
It's just
background noise?
weird. It's weird. There's background noise, but that's okay. We can't
Okay.
deal.
Yeah, I'll just mute myself because until my wife gets back, I'm not. I know. Okay, cool. We
So-
can hear it's weird. Wait, we can hear you. It's just weird and quiet. Wait a second. Hang on. TikTok Live Studio might have. I swear, TikTok Live Studio, dude. It's not that, guys. They changed. So they changed my microphone to the webcam microphone. That's why you guys are hearing it like that. It shouldn't be that. Give me a second.
Gotcha.
Okay, what about now? You guys hear me better?
Yes.
Okay,
Oh
yeah.
my goodness.
Yeah,
It's crystal
okay.
clear.
No, yeah. So what happens, guys, is that when you install a device, like I was changing some cameras around, doing some rearranging in the studio, moving monitors, and when you plug another device in, TikTok Live Studio, for whatever reason, assumes, hey, let's use the $3 dollar store mic instead of the $100 mic that's right there in front of his face. Don't ask me why. I if you guys wouldn't have said anything, I wouldn't even know. Okay, go ahead, brother. I'm sorry. Back to you. What were you saying?
Yeah, sure. So you gave me like two options. I'm just gonna choose the first one.
Sure.
I think that's easier. Just like going from like a general
Yeah.
viewpoint. If that's okay.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if it's okay, how about we kind of shift it a bit? How about you give me your strongest argument against Islam? Put Gabriel aside and the first revelation.
Put Gabriel
What
aside?
do you usually use?
I don't
as your
usually use.
strongest
I don't. Well, respectfully, okay. I don't usually use anything. Gabriel has been I find Gabriel to be important simply only because Gabriel, according to Islam, is the one who carried the message to Muhammad on behalf of Allah. And because his name is inserted all over the Quran and the Hadith presuppositionally, I find it very interesting in the way that the identification was made. But let's do something else. We can get to that later on. I don't think that right off the bat, as a Christian, I don't think that we can follow Muhammad as a prophet just from a moral standpoint. Like, I don't think he's an individual who was truly a prophet of God. I don't think that the decision-making processes and the way that he went about things was in alignment with the previous prophets, right? We don't have any previous prophets who would do things like, for example, state that something was sin, but then claim, but by the way, it's okay for me, but you may not do so, right? Jesus didn't do that. Moses didn't do that. Abraham didn't do that. Nobody who came before in the Abrahamic faith ever did something so reprehensible. That's one of the biggest problems I have with Muhammad, right? You can't claim to be an example or a messenger of God and then establish things as haram and say, but by the way, you can only have this many wives. I can have this many. I can do whatever I want to do, but you guys can't. I have a huge problem with Muhammad's moral character.
Okay. So the Prophet Muhammad alayhi salatu wassalam, alayhi azka salatu wassalam, so when we talk about his life, I'm sure you know that we call it the seerah.
Okay.
So when we're talking about the seerah, the prophetic story of the Prophet Muhammad alayhi salatu wassalam, I believe, honestly, let me tell you this is my viewpoint. I've learned from people. I've read his seerah multiple times. I've read lots of hadiths. I've read the Quran a lot, showing you the seerah.
So
of the Prophet
let me
Muhammad.
clarify something real
Yes.
quick. When you say a sira, are you talking about the one written by Ibn Hisham?
So Ibn Hisham, no, when I say seerah, I'm saying in a general story.
No, I know, but
Talk about the Muslim
which
Muhammad.
are you talking about his
So
biography?
the one written by Ibn Hisham isn't accurate because it,
Yeah, I
it
agree.
doesn't really use authentic narrations.
I
Okay?
agree.
I mean, that's just general scholarship agrees with this.
No,
Okay, I agree
not
with
only
you.
do I not
So-
only do I agree, but even according to Islamic websites, it makes it clear in the preface of his biography that he openly admitted and only included things that he felt was necessary, which I think is
So
historically
Ibn Hisham, I
dishonest.
told you, he includes weak narrations. I agree with you.
Yeah.
Okay. But when we're talking about the seerah of the Prophet Muhammad alayhi salatu wassalam, we're talking about things that are authenticated, okay? That have good chains of narrations that are sahih in isnad and matan, okay? That's
Okay.
what we are talking about. So when we look at the authentic life of the Prophet Muhammad alayhi salatu wassalam, I see it as actually a miracle. His biography. Solely. You know, discount all the different other miracles that the Prophet ﷺ did. Solely his biography is a miracle that testifies for his prophethood. ﷺ. So, you gave me your argument against the Prophet ﷺ, which is that we should not accept him based on moral character. Okay, I'm completely willing to go with you on that argument. So, the first thing you cited, I think, is from Surah An-Nisa. What verse is that? Can you tell me the verse?
I don't know off the top of my head. I can find it for you if you like.
Yeah, sure.
I was just giving you a general
if it's
example.
okay for you, I'm gonna, open the camera to show you the Arabic version because
Yeah,
I have the
go ahead.
Quran in front of me. Okay. So here is Surah An-Nisa. Okay, what verse?
Expand. Surah. You're in Surah An-Nisa, so that's chapter 4.
It's chapter 4, yes.
Yeah.
I believe the verse is in chapter 4. Is it here? وَآتُوا الْيَتَامَى. Yeah, okay, yes, it's over here.
Yeah, it's
Yeah, so
Surah
it's
An-Nisa,
verse-
verse 3 and 4.
It's verse 3. So أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم وإن خفتم ألا تقسطوا في اليتامى فانكحوا ما طاب لكم من النساء مثنى وثلاث ورباع. Okay? So if you fear that this is in the context of talking about marrying orphans, so if you fear to not be just with marrying orphans, okay, فانكحوا ما طاب لكم من النساء, so marry those women who are made lawful to you. مثنى وثلاث ورباع. Okay? Singularly, 2 or 3 or 4. Okay? So up to 4. Okay? So this ruling is to the... One second. Yeah. So this ruling is for the general Muslim population. Okay? The reason why the Prophet ﷺ was excluded from this, okay, was if we...
Can everybody hear me? Hello? Hello? I'm sorry, guys. I can't. If anybody can hear me, I can't hear anyone. Everything is black. My TikTok live studio is just such an absolute garbage software, man. I can't see anybody. I can't hear anybody. Let me... Yeah, I'm probably gonna have to stop this stream on TikTok and start it over again because I can't hear anybody. Yeah, okay. Let me stop. Oh, God, I swear, man. I'm sorry. This has nothing to do with. This is literally only when I go live on TikTok Live Studio do these kinds of issues begin to occur, and it's really, really frustrating, man. It's really frustrating because this is pretty much what we're stuck using when we want to go live. And there's an issue. There's not a day that goes by where there's not an issue on TikTok. So absolutely insane. Absolutely insane every single time. No worries though, guys. I'm gonna go ahead and bring it back up. We will get back into that conversation. I just don't understand, man. At this point, I don't understand why the hell. Like even my camera is like fit to screen. Crazy, man. Go live. And we're just gonna go live. You know what? Hang on. Let me change video setting is too high. Here, let's do 6,000. Because it seems like every single time I do this with the NVIDIA encoder, it just doesn't want to cooperate, and it's crazy as hell because performance, like hardware, is not an issue. Not here, man. And that's crazy to me. That is crazy to me. Settings, change layout, save. All right. So we're back up and running, guys. I'm really sorry about that. As he is talking, I'm literally getting the screen freezes, then everything goes black, and it's like, you know what I mean? Like it is so aggravating. Honestly, it is so aggravating. I do find it interesting though that the last conversation, the guy didn't want to talk about the angel Gabriel. I'm not saying there's anything behind it, but. All right, brother. Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, I don't know. The TikTok live studio just froze and then everything crashed.
I'm not going to talk about kind of the first revelation and all these different stuff is because I just don't see that as relevant, also.
I'm sorry?
So I think a general framework. The reason why I'm not going to go in specific about like the first revelation, I don't think, first of all, I'm qualified to know the narrations, specific hadith that would quote
well,
them
they're very straightforward, but I find it disturbing that you would feel that you would reduce your own intellect to stating you're not qualified, because you sound intelligent enough to me to understand what's going on. Okay. You know what I mean?
So I mean, we were talking about the marriages of the Prophet Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam. Okay.
Sure.
So you asked me why did the Prophet Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Why? Yeah. This is the verse I had up. Yes. Yeah. So the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, why was he allowed by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to be able to marry more than 4 wives? Is that your question? Just to clarify here.
It's not a question. It's more of a statement that I have an issue with a guy who calls himself a prophet who feels that he is above sin.
Okay. So the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, if you look at his marriages, okay, you have to look in the context because you have to understand history and the seerah. So, all his marriages, okay, except for disregarding Aisha, radiallahu anha, may Allah be pleased with her, were with widows, and maybe even, I think, Maria al-Qibtiyya, because she was a Mulk al-Yamin. But, for example, all the other ones, they were widows, okay, with children. Okay. So the reason that the Prophet ﷺ was allowed to marry more than one was as a form as charity. Okay.
I see.
The Prophet Muhammad ﷺ as being Sayyid al-Khalq, the best of all creation.
Okay, so let's here, let's stop there.
To be able to make justice. Only he can make justice.
Sure. Okay, so let's stop there. Okay. Now you stated, if I heard you correctly, you stated 2 things. You stated that he was allowed to do this because they were widows and this was a form of charity. Okay. Now I find that very, very interesting because according to you, this is permissible now because he's essentially doing them a favor, right? Well, to me, that doesn't stand to reason. And I will tell you why. Because if he's doing it as a form of charity, which according to Muslims is very important in Islam, then there's no reason for another Muslim man not to be able to spread the same charity.
I understand.
Right? So that in and of itself, trying to disguise it as charity. Because here's the thing, and I will tell you, brother, as a man, and you being a man, I know that you understand this. There are certain men that are very good at finding ways to be with women and always having an ulterior motive. Okay. And the problem is when a guy like Muhammad says, well, I'm able to do this because it's a charity. Actually, no, it's not. It's a charity to him. He just found a way to disguise it as something else and say, I'm doing something really good. But if Muhammad truly felt that this was something that was really good, there would be no reason to prohibit other Muslim men from participating in that also very good action. Because it's not like Muhammad married all the widows and did all the charity and therefore the mission was done. That's not what happened. He essentially was finding ways to say, I'm going to do whatever I want to do, but you had better not, right? And then going back to the second thing, when you said, well, he was the best of mankind, he actually wasn't, because the only sinless individual to ever have been acknowledged as such, even by his enemies, was Jesus Christ. Muhammad did very atrocious things. Like when you look at the events of Banu Qurayza, right? Muhammad sanctioned literally the execution of hundreds of Jewish men. No judgment from
Are you talking
God.
about Banu Qurayza?
Yeah.
Are you talking about Banu
Yeah.
Qurayza?
Yeah.
Okay. So I mean, we're jumping. from
No,
one
no, no.
topic
But
to another,
but I'm
do you wanna-
addressing both of your points, because the first thing you said was that marriage was that it was a charitable thing that he was doing. I'm sorry, brother, I disagree. That's not charitable. That's just him finding ways to make sure that he's marrying who he wants for the sake of being able to have intercourse with them, and understanding that there's no husband to get in the way. That's all it looks like to me.
So, respectfully, this is what I'm gonna say. I mean, if we to have like a discussion, it's gonna be best to like focus on one issue at a time. Because do you want me to address Banu Qurayza or do you want me to address?
No,
the
brother,
marriage of the Prophet
I
Muhammad?
addressed two of your points because you made 2 points. You stated
Okay, where
that
do you
this
want me
was
to respond?
right. So
Where
you
do you
stated
want
that
me- what do you want
it
me
doesn't
to
matter to me
respond?
because you stated that the marriage thing was charity, right? Which I vehemently disagree with, because it makes no sense. If it's charity, then all Muslim men should be able to participate in this charity. And number two,
Okay,
you said that he was.
You want the reason why?
But number two, you said
So-
he was the best of mankind, which is also incorrect, because history records Muhammad doing extraordinarily atrocious things. So I'm not sure. When you here, let's do this. When you say that he was the best of mankind, why do you say that?
So, respectfully, I'm just gonna focus on the marriage thing. I think because this is a specific point. Then we can go generally on
Okay,
why.
sure, whatever you want.
Okay, is that okay?
Yeah.
So this is am I on Surah Nisa? This is Surah Nisa. So was it verse 3?
Verse 3,
Okay.
correct. Surah An-Nisa, verse 3.
Yeah. So it says وإن خفتم ألا تقسطوا في اليتامى فأنكحوا ما طاب لكم من النساء مثنى وثلاث ورباع.
Well, here, brother, my audience doesn't understand
Yes.
Arabic, so what I'll do is I'll bring up the
Yeah.
English and I'll read it. And if you fear that you will not deal justly with the orphan girls, then marry those that please you of women, 2 or 3 or 4. But if you fear that you will not be just, then marry only one or those your right hand possesses. That is more suitable, that you may not incline. And then verse 4 goes on to say, and give the women upon marriage their bridal gifts graciously. But if they give up willingly to you anything of it, then take it in satisfaction and ease. Right?
Okay. So,
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. So these are pretty clear verses. So this is what I will say. So when it says about the thing of justice, okay, being able to have justice with multiple women. I mean, we can all agree that that's something pretty difficult, you know. Even dealing with one wife is honestly a task within itself. So,
Yeah, but I find it interesting
look,
that you
so
went to
not
this
everyone
because
is going to be qualified. Not everyone's going to be qualified to be able to have more than 4 wives. It's going to
Okay.
be a huge issue.
Okay.
So, when we say that the Prophet Muhammad والسلام, is uniquely qualified for this, we can look at his life, his dealings with women, okay? And we can justify how he only, at that time, since he is the Prophet of God, he is the best of mankind, it makes sense that it would be only applicable to him.
Okay, so let's talk about that, because here's the thing.
You have to look at how he used this.
Well, brother,
He
I
didn't
want to.
use
Yeah,
it to
I want to have.
satisfy his
Listen,
own
I
lusts.
want to have a two-way conversation, because respectfully, what I see going on here is I understand that you vehemently want to defend Muhammad because you have to as a Muslim, and I have no qualms with that. I expect that. Okay, my issue is that you went to this and you went to the remedies for marriage, which is fine, but what we're not doing is we're not talking about what the original point that I made, and that can be found in Surah Al-Asab, the allies, verse 50. So if we look at it, this is where people start looking at this guy with a raised eyebrow. O prophet, indeed, we have made lawful to you your wives to whom you have given their due compensation, and those your right hand possesses from what Allah has returned to you of captives, and the daughters. And we can ignore that, guys, because the parentheses is read into it, right? I know that the Arabic doesn't say this. This is a Sahih International. So if we skip it, it says, what Allah has returned to you and the daughters of your paternal uncles and the daughters of your paternal aunts and the daughters of your maternal uncles and the daughters of your maternal aunts who emigrated with you, and a believing woman, if she gives herself to the prophet, if the prophet wishes to marry her, this is only for you, excluding the other believers. We certainly know what we have made obligatory upon them concerning their wives and those their right hand possesses. But this is for you in order that there will be upon you no discomfort. And ever is Allah forgiving and merciful. I'm sorry, brother. Now, what's crazy about that is that earlier you stated that you didn't want to talk about Gabriel in the Cave of Hira because you're not qualified. But then you went into this historical attempt to explain this ayah, which I admire. The issue that I'm seeing here is that there's nothing in this verse that explains that Muhammad is doing this for charity. There's nothing about widows in here, nothing. So now this is why Christians have such a huge problem with the things that you guys say about Muhammad, right? Because you're attempting to explain something, and in order to do that, you're reading something into the verse that's not there. Oh yeah?
Yeah, I don't want to smell octopus.
Oh, okay, baby. So you're reading something into the verse that's not there, which I know is actually blasphemy in your religion. But I find that disturbing because you said one thing, but what's here doesn't match. It's literally just saying, Muhammad, you can marry, and there's other Muslims who can, and but where in this verse can we get the exegesis that you offered about it being charitable? You see what I'm saying?
So, okay, one second. So, when you're talking to Muslims, 90% of the time, you're not talking to Quranists, okay? You're talking to people of Ahlul Sunnah wal Jama'ah. Sunni people who believe in the tradition of the Prophet Muhammad, who believe in the books of Sahih al-Bukhari, Sahih Muslim, Sunan Ibn Abi Dawood, and all these different books, okay? So, the Prophet Muhammad والسلام, and his prophetic tradition is the walking embodiment of the Quran. The Quran cannot be taken out of context without looking through it with the lens of the Prophet Muhammad and his tradition, والسلام, okay? So when you're talking about blasphemy, I respectfully, that's not being informed.
Okay, so what? Okay, great. So what narration are you taking that explains that this is charitable, that Muhammad is doing this for a charitable reason?
Okay, so if you take it in entirety, you have for example, within the Hadith tradition, the names of the different wives of the Prophet Muhammad, okay?
Okay.
And the reasons why he married each one, and it's cataloged, so, I mean, you can look through each one. Generally, they're widows, whose husbands died in war. That's generally what the case was. So you can dispute that if you want. You can go through you can try to disprove me, okay?
No, yeah, that's fine. Hi, baby. But what I'm trying to say to you is that you're saying you're not a Quranist. I never accused you of being such. What I'm stating to you is, if you're giving me this explanation of charity and excusing this behavior by Muhammad that for other people is sin, then what I'm asking you is to show us and point to me which narration claims that Muhammad is doing this to be charitable.
Okay, so sure, that's an interesting question, but I think I did my best to answer that. So I went back and I just gotta calm down.
I'm sorry. I'm not. I just your response. It took me off guard. I thought that was funny because usually you guys you have the hadiths and everything ready, but then now your response makes me feel like there is no hadith that is clarifying this to be a charitable action, brother. And this, you see, this is exactly what I'm talking about. You said I'm not a Quranist. Great. Listen, I know that you guys have 600,000 hadiths, and I know that the vast majority of hadiths you guys kind of look at with a canted eyebrow, and a lot of them are not even rated Sahih. I have no problem with that. I have no problem respecting your paradigm and having these conversations. But I want to recap with you, brother, because you stated earlier that you were not, you essentially insinuated of yourself that you were not intellectually sufficient enough to have the Kevahida conversation, which I disagree with wholeheartedly. You sound like an extraordinarily intelligent person. So there's that. But then you made a historical argument utilizing your scriptures and your narrations in the form of hadith, right? As an explanation. Okay, great. So then I told you I don't agree that an apostle of God would identify actions as sin and then say, but by the way, this is okay with me. Then we went to, we're going to go ahead and marry as, you can only marry 4 wives, but Muhammad, you can do whatever you want. Then you went into this thing about him being the best of mankind and blah, blah. And I said, okay, great. So show me. And then I'm sorry. And then you stated that this was charitable, that his wives were widows, and that essentially he was doing them a favor, right? Now, brother, you're a guy just like I am. Believe me when I tell you, there is no way you're going to pull the blindfold over my eyes tight enough for me to ever believe that Muhammad was the one doing the favor for anyone else. I believe it was the other way around. However, it doesn't matter what I think. I'm just going to go off what I can read. Then you stated, okay, well, we have to be honest because I'm not a Quranist, because you acknowledge essentially that your explanation was not in the ayah, right? In 3350. So then I said, okay, well then what hadith can we refer to that is showing us specific examples of these charitable actions that Muhammad is taking by marrying these widows? And you stated that's a very interesting question or request. Brother, you're saying
Okay, 1 second. So, yeah. So, I mean, we can look at I think Khadija, and then I think it's the second wife of the Prophet Muhammad. She was a widow, and her husband, I believe, died, and she had children. So the Prophet took it upon himself to give that woman a home. So I can't give you. You want me to search you up the narration, or you disputing?
Well, brother, no.
stuff
I mean,
or
if you're making the claim, the burden of proof is on you. You understand? Like I'm not telling you I'm going to hand wave away whatever you show me. I'm just curious to see where it is in your hadith that is claiming, that is agreeing with what you're saying, that Muhammad marrying and going outside of what is the normal scope of marriage in Islam is a charitable action. That's all. You're the one who said it, and you said it's in hadith. So now I'm asking you which one it's in.
Okay, 1 second.
Sure.
So, this is Gemini, but I can't find a specific narration.
Okay.
So, the second wife of the Prophet Muhammad والسلام, was Sauda bint Zam. I think it's Sama. Okay. So, you want a specific narration, or?
But I don't. It doesn't matter to me, bro. Yeah, it doesn't matter to me. I just want a narration that would make it clear that hey, he was marrying all these women because he was doing them a favor. Essentially, is what you stated, that he was doing charity. That it wasn't sin for him because it was charity.
I searched up on Google, second wife of Prophet Muhammad, and why did they marry? Okay. The first response was from Gemini. And it gives you kind of details of
which
the
hadith
context.
is it?
Says that, for example. So let me say 1 second. I mean, I can give you a specific narration if you want. But,
That's what I want to see, because I'm respecting what I'm doing is I'm trying to respect your paradigm. You understand? I'm trying to go along with the way that you guys understand things, because you said you wanted to have an intellectual conversation of comparative theology. So in order to have an intellectual conversation of comparative theology, we need to use the scriptures that are synonymous to your theology. Would you agree?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. So what I want is, like, if you can give me narration that shows that his second wife was a widow, but her being a widow is not going to automatically mean that he married her as a charitable event. Your original claim, I want you to remember, was that the reason the Prophet was able to do this was because he was marrying widows, and this was a charitable action on his part. So what I'm saying is, If you show me that he married one widow, okay, great. I'm sure that he did. But what I want is for you as a Muslim to show me, look, here, brother Christian, here is why Muhammad was able to do this. Here is what his wives are saying. Here is where Allah told him, or the Prophet stated,
Does
this is a
At-Tabari
charitable
work for
thing.
you?
I'm sorry?
Does At-Tabari work for you?
Al-Tabari, the commentator? We'll see what Al-Tabari says. What does he say? What?
History of Tabari. No, not At-Tabari, the commentator. Tarikh al-Tabari.
Yeah,
History
so
of
yeah.
At-Tabari.
Well,
The
then,
biography.
okay, sure. Let's look at what Al-Tabari has to say.
Sure. So, oh my God, I'm gonna need to open a PDF and open this up. So, I mean, this is just like on Wikipedia quotes. Okay.
Nope. Yeah. Listen, brother. I understand that information can come from anywhere. I don't dismiss it just because it comes from a web search. That's only something people do when they don't like that the searches being generated are dismantling their narrative. I'm not gonna be dishonest. I just want to see if there's anything that exists that states that Allah told Muhammad that he was able to circumvent this specific sin because he was performing charity by marrying widows.
Okay. So, for example, Sauda, she was a widowed mother and she was persecuted in Mecca. Okay. He married her to provide stability, to care for the household and these different stuff. So, I can open up page 171 of At-Tabari. That's going to take me some time to download the PDF also. But the general thing is, if I look here on Wikipedia, marriage to Muhammad, soon after Khadija's death, Muhammad married Sauda in the same month of Ramadan. Okay.
Okay.
So Sauda, it says here, had 6 children and feared that they would disturb Muhammad. So the reason for the marriage, according to, let's see, blah blah blah. So she was a Muslim before, and her husband was one of the Muslim people who were being kind of tortured and expelled in Mecca. So when her husband died, she was left alone to deal with her disbelieving family. So she was kind of in a predicament, So the Prophet Muhammad, he got a widowed woman who had 6 children. This is all according to Imam al-Tabari, and he just took her into his own household. So I don't see what's the problem with that, So yeah. You can maybe make the argument, no, it's a problem, but I don't see it's a problem.
Well, no.
This is a weird argument. Yeah.
Well, no, brother, I didn't. So correct me if I'm wrong. Were you the one that made the argument that that Muhammad marrying multiple women was charitable? I didn't make that argument. You made the argument. That was you, right? So when you state that, okay. So now I'm confused. I'm very confused. Adam, I see your request. I will get you up in a second, brother. Now, in the beginning, guys, and type 1 in the chat if I'm remembering the foundation of this conversation correctly. When I stated that I don't see Muhammad as a person who truly fits the profile of a prophet of the God of Abraham, and then I explained to you that the fact that he himself is the only prophet on record in thousands of years that took it upon himself to make things permissible for him that were sin for others. Notice, for example, Jesus Christ, the literal fulfillment of the old covenant, never said anything like that, right? Moses brought down the tablets on Mount Sinai, never stated to anyone, here are the moral laws from God. By the way, I can do all of these things if I want to, but you can't. I can do a couple of these things if I want to, but you can't. You don't have anything like that when dealing with the true God of Abraham. But fine, let's go to Prophet Muhammad, who you feel is a prophet, and let's say, for the sake of conversation, that sure, he is the best of mankind, which we haven't even gotten into that yet. You stated that he was able to do this because he was doing works of charity. And I'm being fair to you, brother. I have not once been unfair to you. I have never once told you that you can't use hadith. You went to Al-Tabari, right? Yeah, you went to Al-Tabari. And I said, sure. Anyone who can give us this explanation about why Muhammad is allowed to marry more than the prescribed amount of women that apparently Allah put forth. You claimed it was charity, and you said you're not a Quranist. And then when I asked you to show us that in your other, secondary revelation or commentary, whatever, you said, well, that's very interesting. I literally just want to see where your prophet gets the idea that he's allowed to be a sinner, right? And then you went to Al-Tabari And what you read doesn't show us what you claimed, that all of the numerous wives that he married are out of charity. That's not, brother, respectfully, nothing that you asserted is even stated by Al-Tabari. Nothing. What we have here is a Quranic verse basically stating, you will follow the rules and I will engage in carnal nature all I want because Allah said so. And then in secondary revelation, your explanation is missing. In commentary, your explanation is missing. And I will grant you that you said his second wife was a widow and he took her in. Okay, that does not anywhere make the insinuation that this individual, Muhammad, was told by Allah that he can marry whomever he pleases if they're widows or if it's charity, because then that takes us all the way back to my first point, which is that if this is truly a charitable action, a just God, a real just God, right, would not preclude other Muslim men from participating in this very same type of charity. So when you say this is a weird point, I find it funny because you're the one who made the point. All I asked you to do was substantiate it. Does that make sense?
Sure. So I think when I said this interesting is that, I mean, I asked you to give me your strongest kind of argument against Islam. Okay. I was confused why you'd bring this one up. You know, I expected something more like Aisha or like, I don't know.
Well,
jihad or
let me
something
ask you
like
this.
that. I'm just, this is.
Let me
this
ask
is
you
quite
this.
niche.
Are you sick of the Aisha argument already? Like when we have these conversations, wouldn't you like a fresh approach? Because I'm sick of the Aisha argument. I mean, we can go there if you want to. That's gonna make him look a lot worse. I wanted to start at something more generalized, right? I wanted to start at something that we can right from the bat foundationally show that Muhammad's not in alignment with the previous prophets. And just in this verse alone, it makes it clear that he is not in alignment with the previous prophets.
Okay. So, yeah. So quite honestly, I'm gonna be honest here. So, I have to go do something. So
Okay.
I mean, I'm not running away or anything.
I'm
Okay?
not
So,
accusing you of running away.
no. Maybe do you do this? How often do you do this?
I'm live Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, brother. Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday. So the two T days and the first day of the weekend. And I'm always live.
Thursday, okay, we can continue with the conversation of the prophets of the wives of the prophets. That time I'll have like the citations ready.
Okay.
Of the different hadith books of each specific marriage and why and kind of what the scholars have said on this topic. Because you took me kind of on. You went to a kind of a niche argument I did not expect, so I don't have the citation ready.
No problem, brother. I appreciate your honesty and I appreciate the conversation, man.
Okay, bye.
All right, man. Bye-bye. Have a good one. Here, guys, listen. I do feel like that was, believe it or not, guys, I feel that it was a productive conversation because he was respectful and because he didn't pretend to have information that he did not have. What that was essentially was a man who has been taught something his entire life. And then when presented with the argument, he kind of spit back what his sheiks or what he's, have told him, or maybe his parents or someone else in the Muslim world. And very sweet kid. I like him a lot. I do. I honestly wish every conversation was that fruitful. Because, he was struggling, but he wasn't disrespectful, right? And I find it funny that he said, well, I thought you were going to go to Aisha. I mean, that's not actually going to make Muhammad look any better, right? But yeah, you guys know that I don't like to just do what everybody else is doing. I want to kind of have conversations that you guys are not hearing. And I see a lot of you guys. I see a lot of you guys in the chat. I see you guys who you're here and you're here and then you're watching Elijah later on and you're watching Avery and you're watching The Word and and you're watching Dom Defends, you're watching Bear and Peace. And we're not doing you guys any favor if we're just using the same argument over and over. The great thing for me about Islam is that there is almost no end of arguments that I can use against Muhammad or the contradictions in the Quran or the Hadith or the foundational events. But at the end, guys, he was very respectful, and we will applaud. Yes, listen. I I do applaud respectful conversation. I do encourage respectful conversation, and I do encourage honesty during conversation, right? So thank you so much, brother. His name was in Arabic. It was like 0999 something. But I do applaud you. I do applaud you for at least not lying, right? Giving reasoning and then not lying about where the reasoning is. And I do pray that he comes back, guys. Jesus is king. And we compare that, guys. We can compare that to a lot of things. We can compare that conversation with Muhammad, right? And they say, well, he's the best of mankind, whatever. That's another thing. Like, I was praying that we were actually going to be able to get into that portion of his argumentation that Muhammad is the best of mankind. Because if Muhammad is the best of mankind, and we can historically point out a lot of the things that Muhammad is guilty of, I'm not sure where you continue to make this assertion that Muhammad is the best that mankind has to offer when we can, prove that he's done X, Y. Like, look at the conversation we just had, guys, right? You don't have any previous prophets who are claiming to be messengers of God and then saying, listen, I can do what I want. You can't. Look, when Moses beat that Egyptian guard and he took his life, that was actually something that God highlighted as sin. Right? Moses actually had to flee from Egypt. He was gone for years. And God made it clear that he used him despite his sin, right? He used David despite his sin. He used Noah. He used all of the people that he used despite their sin. Never once does God ever obfuscate their sin. As a matter of fact, he makes it clear to expose them for their sin. But Genesis 50:20 makes it clear that God can use anybody and everybody in every event for his plan, regardless of whether you think you're fighting against him or not. Then come Jesus Christ, who is literally sinless, who is acknowledged by his enemies, including the Pharisees, as sinless, where Jesus said, if anyone here can accuse me of sin, please speak up now. And not a single Pharisee, not a single Jew who was fighting against the idea of Jesus being the Son of God was able to say anything, right? So now the covenant is complete. The old covenant is, I'm not complete. The old covenant is fulfilled, and Jesus is crucified and he ascends, and the gospel is spreading. The apostles of the apostles are spreading the word. Paul's letters come out, they're written. And then we turn around and we have a guy who comes out 600 years later who understands that he has to constantly appeal to Jesus Christ in order for anyone to take him seriously. The issue with Muhammad, though, was that he didn't actually know what was in the previous scriptures. And that's the biggest problem for Mr. Muhammad, was that he knew that he had to appeal to Jesus. He knew that he had to appeal to the Bible. He knew that he had to confirm these previous scriptures, because even people in Arabia were going to kind of raise their eyebrows at him strangely, saying, how can you be a messenger of the same God if you are stating that these things are outright wrong? So he confirms them. But the problem is then you have Gnostic gospels and you have ancient Jewish folktales and all these things in the Quran that make it clear that you've never actually known what these scriptures say. And that's the problematic portion, guys. That's where we start running into issues of the Islamic dilemma and these historical blunders, and it just goes on and on. And it is what it is. We got Sam Suleiman, and apology not included, requesting up. And thank you for all of you guys who are watching on every platform, guys. We do have a super chat goal, the same super chat goal as always. If we make it, we're going to go ahead and jump into our second Bible study, guys. Additional time that we will spend together. But if you guys are supporting this ministry, it is something that I definitely feel is worth doing for you all. Suleiman, I accepted your guest request. Oh, okay. Let me accept you again. Maybe it didn't load up. Let's see if he loads up. Sam, what's up, brother?
What's up, brother?
Are you a Muslim?
Yes, I am. I have two questions for you.
Sure. What is it?
The first one is, by the way, I went to church for like 7 years.
Okay.
First one is, when Jesus came to the Jews, he told them, I did not come to change what is in your hands, but to fulfill it.
Right.
Correct?
Yep.
And what was in the Jews' hands was what Moses gave them, and the 10 Commandments, where the first commandment is no God but one God.
Okay.
And there's no Trinity in the Torah.
Okay.
So was Jesus lying or was Moses lying? That's the first question.
Well, first of all,
Second question-
no, Sam, hold on, stop right there. Because first of all, I find it extraordinarily interesting that for some reason you're talking about this when you see the questions on my prompt, right? And you know what's crazy, guys? When I type this out today, I want you guys to look carefully at the description, right? And the description of today's stream. Hold on, guys. I'm going to show you guys exactly what it says. I wonder how many will answer using Christianity instead of Islam. So we have already only our second guest today who wanted to go directly into the Bible. And my strongest suspicion behind that is because Islam is so impossible to defend that they have to distract by constantly asking questions that have been answered a million times. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to answer your question. And then what we're going to do is we're going to address the prompt. Okay. Now, your question, which was disingenuous to begin with and built on a faulty premise, is, was Jesus lying or was Moses lying? The issue with what you're saying is that you are arguing from a false and faulty foundation of presupposition that the way that the Jews look at God now is the same way that they looked at God before Jesus Christ, which rabbinic scholars have actually destroyed. There was a book written by...
The same way we look at him too.
Okay, but Sam, here's the thing. The same way you look at him now, because Muhammad has taught you that Jesus is not God. The problem...
No, because all the prophets taught no God but one God. There goes, you're lying again.
Okay, Sam, so do me a favor and let me finish speaking, all right? Because you actually have no idea what you're talking about. There was a book.
The prophets preached no God but one God.
Sam, I'm going to muzzle you, and then if you talk over me again, I'm going to get rid of you, okay? Because what you're doing is you're showing that you're botting out, and you're not letting me get to the answer. Because if we look at several historical documents, there was even a book written by a rabbinic scholar named Alan Siegel in 1977 called The Two Powers in Heaven. And what it does is it illustrates that Jews actually always did believe in a multi-personal God, and that the political powers that be after Jesus Christ, the political powers that be after Jesus Christ actually changed the way that they interpreted scripture, so that they did not any longer look at a multi-personal God. And this was only done to exclude Jesus Christ as the Son of the Godhead. Now, right here, guys.
Who's the other God that you're talking about?
That's what the theory is called, brother. That is what the theory is called, dude. That is not.
God but one God. 10
okay,
commandments.
Sam. So stop. Listen. Repeating the same stupidity over and over is not going to help you. So
you're lying.
Okay, cool. So if I'm lying, look. Two powers in heaven. Early rabbinic reports about Christianity and Gnosticism, right? And it tells you here in this now classic Two Powers in Heaven, Alan Siegel examines the rabbinic evidence about.
Alan Siegel is not a prophet, bro.
Okay, Alan Siegel is a rabbinic scholar and actually spent his entire lifetime studying. All right, Sam, do me a favor. Get the hell out of my face, bro. So right here, guys, we're showing you, okay? I don't have time to deal with stupidity, because every single time you give these guys the proof, they start manifesting like the little clowns that they are.
I wanted to drop it, but I didn't want to override you.
No, you're fine. No, don't worry about it. Siegel sheds light upon the development and relationships among early Christianity, Gnosticism, and Merkabah mysticism, and demonstrates that belief in the two powers in heaven was widespread by the 1st century, and may have been a catalyst for the Jewish rejection of early Christianity. An important addition to New Testament and Gnostic scholarship by this much revealed scholar, Siegel's Two Powers in Heaven is made available once again for a new generation. Muslims, stop trying to equate yourself. Stop trying to equate yourself to Jews, right? Because what you're doing is you're showing that you don't even understand what the ancient Jews actually taught. Thank you so much for the 5 gifted memberships. Your favorite Arab 3 sent 5 gifted memberships, man. If you got a gifted membership from this brother, thank you. Make sure you thank him in the chat, guys. I appreciate it so much. God bless you guys. Yeah, I'm really disappointed in Sam because they come up here and they want to yell, right? And they want to talk garbage, showing that they don't even know the history of the Jewish people or the way that their texts were interpreted. They don't know. They what they're doing is they're sitting here and they're saying, well, we align with the Jews, but you didn't do enough homework to see that the Jews actually didn't believe in Yahweh and they believed in a multi-personal God up until their powers that be, their political power, started telling them, no, that's not what it is. Now, it's not that that's what it was. It's just that this was a desperate attempt by the Pharisees to make sure that people didn't look at Jesus as God. It was amazing that these theological shifts began literally right after Jesus ascended, right after the crucifixion. There was no theological shift until after that. But, you know, once you start swearing and all this other nonsense, ABD, what's up? You're on stage. Hello? I bet, brother, you don't come up onto the video ninja on accident. Are you there? Can you hear me? ABD, are you there? Hello? All right, brother. Okay, are you there?
I can hear you.
What's up? Are you a Muslim?
Yes,
Hello?
I'm a Muslim.
Okay, what's up? Why'd you call in, brother?
Just to get in straight, I appreciate what you do here,
Okay.
and I am a Muslim,
Okay, you said that.
and I would just like to go straight to the point. Thing
What-
is that
And what's your point?
Christianity is the truth and Islam is false, and why I think Islam is true.
Okay, tell me why you think Islam is true.
Okay, so from the Islamic point of view, it's very straightforward to me to think, or it is easier for me to think that there's only one God, only one creator, and this one creator, he created us and sent guidance to us through prophets over different periods of time. And if you look,
ABD, you have to stay still, brother. You're like, you have a lot
very
of
common things that
ABD,
happened.
you have a lot of lag, brother. So I need you to, I don't know if you're moving around. I don't know what you're doing, but I'm going to need you to try to stay still because it sounds very, very laggy.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll be back. Give me a minute.
Sure, no problem. Yeah, guys, you know, when it comes down to it, oh, Grafted's gone? I thought Grafted was up here. What up, Grafted? Yeah, Grafted, you don't have to leave. Unless something came up and he had to go. Yeah, guys, I find it very interesting that there's this new trend, and I think it comes from their terrible dawah, where they're trying to constantly attack Christianity and look at Christianity as the odd man out. And then they say, well, Moses never taught the Trinity. Well, the problem is Moses taught God, and in the writings of Moses, a multi-personal God is there. No Christian is going to sit there and look you in the face and say Moses taught the Trinity. Okay, that's the stupid. Yo, another 5 gifted memberships from your favorite Arab. Thank you so much, brother. God bless you. God bless you, man. I really appreciate you. God bless. Thank you so much. I don't know why. I don't know why it's not popping up on the chat, but thank you. Yeah, I do see it. I gotta find out in Social Stream Ninja why I'm not able to see that, because I've seen other YouTubers bringing that up. So yeah, after this stream, guys, we will get that fixed up. Yeah, I don't know why Muslims are so desperate to connect themselves to a people that they can't stand. I don't know why they are. Lately, I've been noticing a lot of that. oh, Moses, they only taught one God. Well, congratulations, Christianity only teaches one God, right? Like, you don't get to sit here and pretend like we don't know our own history and we don't know how the Jews, how the Israelites looked at God. You don't get to do that. We don't allow it here. And when you sit there and you tell me, you know what's crazy? When I tell you, well, this is how Jews actually looked at God before Jesus Christ, and the first words out of your mouth is bullshit. I pretty much already know I got your back up against the wall, because whereas if I'm arguing from culture and history, you're just sitting there desperately trying to repeat the same stupid idiotic point. And this is what I get, man. I honestly every single day end up getting people like that. And it does, kind of wear on me, because it's like I just want to have good conversations, but it doesn't seem like I can. But yeah, it's unfortunate, man. And it seems like, I don't know, maybe if I always kind of go live a little bit earlier. Ikro, I see you watching, man. I see the lives that you host. If you want to come in and talk about this, if you want to tell people why I should become a Muslim, come on, go ahead and come up, man. Nobody's gonna jump on you or not going to rag on you. I've watched your live streams. You come up on my feed. I see that you keep pretty good order. The willpower. There's a lot of Muslims watching, but not coming up. I don't understand why. The willpower.
Yo, what's up, man?
What's up, man? Are you a Muslim?
I can vouch for willpower. He's a brother in Christ.
Oh, he is? Okay. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, excellent. All right, willpower. Thanks, brother. I appreciate you. God bless. Yeah, guys, I always notice that there are lots of Muslims whom I won't name out loud. But when you hit the invite button, or when you look at who's requesting, and you can look at who else is here, which I do like about TikTok. Like on YouTube, there's no such thing. Like, you have no idea unless they're typing in your chat. You actually have no idea who's watching you, right? But on TikTok, there are tools that'll let you know, hey, this is who's watching. I'm pretty sure they could turn it off, but most people don't go out of their way to do that because they don't care. Yeah, guys, Muslims, you can't connect yourself to ancient Israel. I'm sorry. It's impossible. You actually don't even know. I mean, all you got to do is read the Torah. When you say that, you're making it clear you've actually never read the Torah. And if you haven't read the Torah, you can't speak on how the ancient Jews viewed God, right? You can't sit there and tell me it's BS when I tell you that they viewed God as a multi-personal God. And we are not obligated to say Moses taught the Trinity. Why? We don't need to lie about the concepts and the way that they were taught, right? We know that the patristic sources, we know that certain councils, the early church fathers, are the ones that actually established and fleshed these ideas out and gave them concepts and gave them names. We don't have to lie about that, right? But when you start playing exact word fallacies and saying things like, well, Moses didn't talk about a Trinity, therefore it's not there. Listen, I could do the same thing with you guys. Well, Muhammad never once said the word Tawheed. So therefore, the concept is, I don't want to hear about it. Oh, Moses Gabriel never once introduced himself the way he did in the Bible. Therefore, your entire book is false. Now, I know that to be true, but at the end of the day, those are not conversations that they want to have, right? So it's interesting that there are so many exact word fallacies that are attempted by Muslims because it shows a desperation in their polemics. And I'm here for it, man. I'm here for all of it. I'm here for all of it. And look, why should I become a Muslim? Did Muhammad ever meet Gabriel? And the description, as you guys can see, is how many people are going to try to start with Christianity. Your religion is so weak, man. Your religion is so weak that your apologetics consists of polemics. In Christianity, I can sit here and talk to you about Jesus Christ all day long. We can talk about the prophecies that he fulfilled all day long. But no, these guys think that because someone that they follow said something, it's a good argument, and it's not. It really isn't. It's terrible and it's sad. I don't know. Maybe I should change the prompt. Maybe I should change the prompt because it's definitely not a viewership issue. We haven't gotten any restrictions. Let's see, guys. What do we do the prompt to? How do we coax them out? Not 2 questions. What is today? Tuesday? I wonder if we do. Christianity is more trustworthy than Islam? Let's try that. Let's try Christianity is more trustworthy than Islam. Because we've been live for an hour and we've only got 2 callers and only one of them was worth even speaking to. Jesus is God. Amen, brother. Jesus is God. There is no doubt about that. Let's go ahead and let's do Tuesday. OBS Studio acting silly. Christianity is more trustworthy than Islam. Let's do that. And we do have the super chat goal going on, guys. We already got 10 gifted memberships, so thank you so much to my favorite. Arab is his name. Thank you so much from the bottom of my heart, man. Man was created in the image of God. Amen. That he was, my friend. That he was indeed. But then you look at the first thing that this entity said to Muhammad in the cave, and it says that man was made of a clot of blood. I don't understand stuff like that. I don't understand how you can contradict yourself so much and still think that that's the word of God. Tattoo Bill, what's up, man? Bill, you're on stage. Are you there? All right, another accidental. Yeah, request up, guys. Christianity is more trustworthy than Islam. You would think that would coax him out, but it's not. It's not a thing, man. Is anyone else live right now, too? I don't know if that's Michael Hillard, Chosen. Ikro Halal. It's interesting because Ikro is always watching. I've seen him here on more than one occasion, but he never requests up. He is a Muslim. I've seen him there, and I've seen him actually swearing at other Christians. I saw that the other night. But no, I don't want it to be that kind of conversation, man. You're lagging hard, Grafton. On your end, or are you saying my stream is lagging? Is there something I need to fix, guys? Let me know if there's something I need to fix. I was worried, guys, about something on the YouTube side, but no, it seems like it was. I should not have been worried. So thank God for that. Cross unit. I'm sorry.
It's not good. It's Grafton who's lagging. It's not you.
Okay, excellent. All right, excellent. All right, that's good to know. Yeah, guys, we have there's been kind of I've been getting good conversations, but honestly, the majority of them are coming from Video Ninja nowadays, which thank God for YouTube Shorts Live, man, because it's pushing the stream out there, and it is pushing us out to the point where we are, getting guests instead of just kind of sitting here like lumps on a log and just kind of talking. And I know a lot of it has to do with the fact that I went live out of sequence, which I cannot stand doing. Oh my gosh. All right. Allah, what's up? Allah, you are on stage,
Hello.
brother. What's up, man?
How are you today?
I'm good, brother. How are you?
Good, bro.
So what's up?
Logically, Allah.
I'm sorry?
Logically, Allah is up.
Logically, Allah is what?
Allah is above Jesus.
Logically, Allah is above Jesus. What makes you say that?
Well, Allah has a throne above paradise, the Arsh of Allah, the throne of God.
Mm-hmm. So if Allah is above Jesus, why did he raise Jesus up to him in Surah 4:158?
Sure. So as Muslims, nobody has to die in Islam. It is how beautiful the religion is.
Everybody dies in Islam, brother.
Paradise is
Everybody dies in Islam. What are you talking about?
Well, do you want God to save Jesus? Then Islam is the option for you.
Jesus doesn't need Allah to save him. Jesus is God. He doesn't need Allah or anybody else to save him.
Okay. Do you know God cannot be a Messiah? God cannot be a prophet.
Why
God
not? Hold on.
prophecy.
Your God can't enter. Your God cannot enter creation.
No, God cannot be a Messiah.
Why not? Is he
Because
limited?
in Aramaic, in scripture, it says the Messiah is the Masus, the one who is anointed. So don't worship the one who's anointed, worship the one who does anointancy.
Right.
The
So
anointer.
okay. So you want us to believe that he can't be. Basically, you don't think that God could be a human being if he wanted to, right?
Well, do you know the cross, Christianity, the
No,
Father,
Allah,
the
I want you, Allah,
Trinity?
for the first time ever in history, brother, I want
Everything
you,
is Muslim.
Allah, I want you to answer the question that I'm asking for once, okay? Are you stating that God cannot enter creation?
God doesn't, because God has a throne, right?
He doesn't enter creation?
Yeah, should God have a throne? Correct?
So then why does he enter the lowest heaven every night? Heaven is creation just like everything else. You guys claim that he can't enter creation, and yet he enters creation by descending to the lowest heaven.
So that is the Allah's presence is at the lowest heaven. Allah himself is above the throne. He is imageless, and he levitates above the throne.
What is the meaning? What is the meaning of presence?
Yes, so you can feel God's presence everywhere around you.
So so if you feel his presence, that means that he is present, which means he is literally there in your presence. That means that he's there. That means that he is in that location.
No, not technically. You want to know why?
Why is that?
Because if God was technically, actually, let me back up. In your scripture, the heavens cannot contain God.
What? What scripture are you talking about?
In our scripture, God is above the heavens.
Okay. So he won't enter creation. You said that that's just his presence. Why do you then have hadith that say that the foot of your God will be in hell? Is that not creation as well?
What did you say?
Here, let me give it to you.
Yeah, put it on the screen and we're gonna do one by one. You chose it. It was your choice. It was your choice, brother.
Right here. There you go. This is prophetic commentary on the prophet, blah, blah, blah. Sahih al-Bukhari 48:48. The prophet said the people will be thrown into the fire and it will say, are there any more to come? Till Allah puts his foot over it and will say, Kati, Kati, enough, enough.
So you believe God is in hell.
So wait a second. So God can't be a man, but Allah has a foot, right?
Do you know Allah?
I want you to answer the question. Yeah, answer the question, brother. So he can't be a man, but he has a foot like a man, and he puts it in hell. According to your prophet, this is Sahih al-Bukhari.
No.
Not literally.
Listen, if you
how
are
do you do this?
educated enough,
Allah, hold on. Allah, wait, bro, wait, stop. Because this is you said I chose it and you laughed. Okay, so let's laugh together.
Ready?
Let's laugh together. You said that I chose this. I did choose this because you claimed that him descending to the lowest heaven is him filling it with his presence, but not being there.
Not foot in that sense.
Not foot in the sense. Here we go with the sense, guys.
Not in that literal sense.
Here we go with
foot.
the sense.
No.
Yeah. So now, what's crazy?
A mountain has a face.
What's crazy? Yeah. What's crazy is that you guys always make these claims because you don't stop talking, brother. You guys always make these claims that God doesn't do things, and you try to address what's below his majesty, and you go to this and you go to that. And then when we show you guys that what you're saying is factually incorrect according to your scriptures, and he left. I didn't kick him, guys. What you end up doing is start appealing to this word of sense, right? It's just like when you guys try to say Jesus was a Muslim, right? Okay, well, if you're going to the verse in Matthew where he prostrated and you're saying that Jesus was a Muslim, then you also have to understand in that same verse that it's saying that God is his father. Oh no, well, this was abrogated and it's saying in the ontological sense. No, it's not. No, it's not.
Can I should I say something? The Bible itself say feet for God, under God's feet and under his feet, and God.
Correct, but the Bible, right? But the Bible, right? But Christians, okay, but Christians do not make idiotic claims about what God can and cannot do. That's a Muslim thing. So going back to the Bible, going back to Christian and ancient Jewish theology, we have never had an issue with theophanies or the angel of the Lord or God interacting or entering creation. That's only something that Muslims claim that God cannot do. Despite the fact that no Muslim can actually explain why he can't do it, they just say, well, he just can't do it, he won't do it. But then they ignore the fact that he descends to the lowest heaven. They ignore the fact that he's putting his foot in hell, according to your prophet.
But there is a verse in the Bible, I think, that the whole world, the whole creation cannot contain God. So you guys have the same perspective.
God, no, well, see, here's the difference. That verse is talking about God in his full glory, which is why God does not speak to us in his full glory, and manifestations and theophanies become necessary, such as a burning bush or a cloud or a voice, because man cannot actually interact with God in that way. That's what it's talking about. You see, we don't have an issue with our God because we know that our God can do what he wants and do what he pleases. It's only in the Muslim paradigm that people start telling us what God can and cannot do.
Like it's the same. It's the same. Like both of you, both religions are saying God cannot enter creation.
Well, Gustav, what religion are you?
Yeah, I'm a Muslim, but you're asking that to put me in a box. It's the same.
I'm not asking it to put it in the box. I ask it because I need to know who I'm speaking to and how to approach the conversation. But on top of that, it doesn't matter because none of this is even in regards to the prompt. So here's the prompt, brother.
Yeah, I can answer the prompt. I was coming for the prompt, actually.
Go ahead.
So I can claim I like to make very focused claims, right?
Please do.
So my focused claim today is the book of Isaiah 45, verse 5.
What about it?
You cannot explain that if Jesus is God. There is no way that you can explain it if Jesus is God.
Sure, let's do it. And what we're going to do, unlike in the Muslim paradigm, is we're going to read in context. That sound good?
Yes. Sounds good.
So you said Isaiah what?
45:5.
45. Yes. Excellent. So let's put it up on screen, guys. Let's see if his claim holds up. This is Isaiah 45. He says, verse 5, right? I name you, though you do not know me. I am the Lord, and there is no other besides me. There is no God. Right? So how does this preclude Jesus as God?
So I am the Lord. It's actually I am Yahweh, and there is no other besides me. There is no God.
What do Christians believe about God?
Can I just ask you, whom do you take as the speaker here?
No, Gustav. What do Christians believe about God? What do we believe about?
3 persons.
Thank you.
One nature, 3 persons.
So is there anyone? So are you making the insinuation that Jesus is a second God?
I'm not saying anything. I'm just saying that you cannot explain this verse if Jesus is God.
We actually can, because we go back.
Okay. So
thus says the Lord to his anointed, to Cyrus, whose right hand I have grasped, to subdue nations before him, and to loose the belt of kings, to open doors before him. The gates may not be closed. I will go before you and level the exalted places. I will break in pieces the doors of bronze and cut through the bars of iron. I will give you the treasures of darkness and the hoards in secret places, that you may know that it is I, the Lord, right here, the God of Israel, who call you by your name. For the sake of my servant Jacob and Israel my chosen, I call you by your name. I name you, though you do not know me. I am the Lord, and there is no other besides me. There is no God. So right here, now I ask you, in verse 1 through 5, who is the speaker?
That's what I'm asking. Yes.
God. It's God. It's literally God. It's literally God.
Okay, amazing. So God is 3 persons and 1 nature. So can we be more specific? Which person is talking?
Wait, so you're saying that this precludes Jesus as the son of the Godhead because we cannot identify which person of the Godhead?
Not at all. That's not at all what I'm saying.
Okay, so explain what you're saying then.
So I am the Lord, and there is no other beside me. There is no God. There is a speaker. Do we agree there is a speaker here? There is someone talking?
Yes, it's God.
Do we agree that
hold on. The triune God is speaking.
Amazing.
Now, it is amazing. You know why? Because what you're doing is you are acting as though whenever...
You're not giving me a chance.
Well, Gustav, I'm trying to explain to you because what you're doing is you're trying to present this argument based on a fallacy. And that is that if any one person of the Godhead is speaking, it could somehow preclude the other 2 persons of the Godhead. The issue with that is that because they have the same mind, the same divine essence, the same will, when one is speaking, all are speaking. So when God is speaking here, the triune God is speaking here, it stands to reason that it wouldn't matter if it's only one person of the Godhead speaking or all of them, because they don't speak the way that we do anyway.
Okay, great. So when he says, I am the Lord, Is it
In
one
which
person
verse?
speaking
Here,
or
so
three
what I want you to
persons?
do, what I want you to do
Or
is I
five?
want you.
You want to change the topic?
No, I want you to present your argument. Watch this. I want you guys to see something. What I want you to do, Gustav, is I want you to present to my audience how Isaiah 45:5. I want you to show how this precludes Jesus Christ as the Son of the Godhead. That's all I want you to do. I'm not going to interrupt you. I want you to present your argument. Watch this, guys. Go ahead, Gustav.
I appreciate it first. By the way, I think I came on your live a few times, and I think you give a chance for people to talk. So I appreciate that. So the verse is, "I am the Lord, and there is no other. Besides me, there is no God." My argument is, Yahweh, according to Christian belief, is three persons and one nature. The pronouns used here are singular personal pronouns, which means that it must be one person talking. But forget me. It can be, what are the choices? One person talking, or the three of them talking, or the nature speaking? Let's try the other two. If the three of them talking, why they are not using plural pronouns? If the nature is speaking, this is a heresy. Nature cannot speak, only persons can speak. Which means it's one person talking. It's not just one person talking, he's talking in exclusivity. He's saying, besides me, there is no God. How do we know that me here refers to the person, not to the nature? It's because we learned from Trinitarians that the answer to who is the persons. The answer to what is the nature. Me answers the question who, not the question what. That's it.
All right. Now are you done? I don't want to cut you off, so I want to make sure you're done.
I'm done.
Okay, great. So now what I want to do, guys, I want to go to Isaiah 48:16 before I answer, right? Isaiah 48:16 makes it clear. "Draw near to me, hear this. From the beginning, I have not spoken in secret. From the time it came to be, I have been there. And now the Lord God has sent me and his Spirit." So right there in Isaiah, 3 chapters later, it's making it clear that there is more than one person of the Godhead. But what I find interesting about your personal pronouns argument is that it actually completely falls apart, brother. Because what you're doing is you're confusing one God with one person, and those are actually not in the same category in Trinitarian theology. So firstly, when Isaiah is saying in chapter 45, "I am the Lord and there is no other," right? Christians agree completely, and I already explained that to you. There is only one God. We only believe in one God. The doctrine of the Trinity, though, is not three gods. So right out of the gate, you're attacking, what you're trying to do is you're trying to attack this argument as if there's some sort of polytheism involved, and there's not, right? But secondly, the entire argument about singular pronouns actually backfires because the Bible constantly has single persons speaking on behalf of a multi-personal reality. And that's what you're not understanding. Even in normal human language, one person can speak for a unified being or group without using plural pronouns, okay? If one member of a family says, "I am the Martinez family representative," that doesn't mean that the family only contains one person, right? So it doesn't make any sense. And even then, you would have to look at your own theology and say that that doesn't work, because if you're stating that because the personal pronouns used when God is speaking here somehow precludes the other two persons of the Godhead, you now have to explain that why in the Quran, your God, who is supposedly only one entity, constantly refers to himself as we and us. Are you now insinuating that when personal pronouns are used in a certain way, that automatically means that that is the number of people included in that entity?
I'm happy to answer that, but can you just tell me this part? Besides,
No, Gustav, I want you to engage. Hold on. I know. And I already explained to you.
I don't want to jump to another thing.
No, I'm not, brother. I am rebutting your point by showing that there's a double standard, because you again are insinuating that if one person of the Godhead is speaking, right, and you try to use personal pronouns to preclude Jesus as the Son of the Godhead, right, I'm making it clear to you that your argument about the pronouns is backfiring on you, right? Our Bible constantly has single persons speaking on behalf of the multi-personal God, and that doesn't preclude the other two persons of the Godhead. But what I'm telling you is that if your entire argument is going to be contingent upon the pronouns of a person, then you have to accept that there is a multi-personal God in Islam. How many times how many times in the Quran does your God refer to himself as we or us? How many times?
I can explain that. Can you explain this verse? Because you didn't explain it.
I
You
just
said,
explained,
"How
brother.
about?"
I
You
just
said, "How
explained
about
it to you. I just explained it to you. If God is
Can I
speaking,
ask a clarifying question
Go ahead.
before I explain the Quran?
Go ahead.
Besides me, there is no God. Me here for you refers to the nature, not to the person.
When you say me,
that's not true.
no, go ahead, Grafton. Go ahead, because he's not understanding it when I'm saying it. Go ahead.
That's not true. That's not true at all. So, Gustav, like, it's clear that what you're doing is employing a semantic argument. So basically, if you look at the context of that verse, it's saying, besides me, in other words, that's a reference. There is no God, which is a nature. All
Okay,
he's
so
saying
me
is,
refers to the nature. So he meant to say my nature, not me.
I'm still speaking. All that God is saying is that besides me, there is no other essence or being like me. But that's not going to mean that
You're adding to the verse. The verse is saying, beside me, there is no God.
Listen, besides me, the reference says there is no God, which is going to pick out nature. But
Who's
that's
me?
not going to exclude, that is not going to exclude anything co-substantial with the referent.
Okay, who is
Because
me?
we talk about a nature.
Me is the nature, but me is an answer to who? Who is a person?
Yeah, me. He doesn't say besides me there's no other person. He says besides me there's no other God. That only makes sense by a unipersonal God. That's the point. You'd have to assume a unipersonal God. Maverick went to
I don't
Isaiah
have to
48
assume anything. The verse speaks to itself. My question is, who is me? You say it's a nature, but that's wrong because it's personal pronoun, not natural pronoun.
I know what a pronoun is. I know what a pronoun is. I'm saying that the referent is referring to the nature. The referent's not referring to another person.
Saying me.
If I say besides, listen,
go ahead.
if I say besides me, no other nature, then whatever is co-essential with the nature will not be excluded. The only way that your argument works is if you can prove that God is unipersonal, because Isaiah 48 shows you God can be multi-personal. In other words, anything that is co-substantial with God would not be excluded in the statement, besides me, there's no other God. The reference referring to the nature, the referent doesn't seek to exclude a person. The referent seeks to exclude other natures. Gustav, do you understand?
Oh, I was muted. I was saying he's saying me, and me is personal.
Probably because
he didn't say my nature. He said me.
You probably got muted because you were speaking over me. So I'll restate what the verse is saying. The verse is saying, besides me, aka the referent, there is no other God, not person, God, which is going to refer to a nature. So all that the speaker is...
There is no God. No one said nature or anything. Beside me, there is no God.
You are assuming that that's a person, whereas Isaiah 48
pronoun, because me is a personal pronoun.
Gustav, Isaiah 48 shows that God is multi-personal. Therefore, the person would not exclude other divine persons who are co-substantial, because that would be included in the word God. That's how we know that the speaker is not excluding persons, they're excluding non-divine natures.
But me is a person. So if your argument is, you know what, 45.5, yeah, maybe it's going to show a uni-personal God, but let's forget about it and look at another one. That's fine. We can make this argument. But yeah, I'm just saying that the verse cannot explain itself.
So why is it that when Grafton says it to you, you're like, okay, that's fine. But when I say it to you, you're like, oh no, well that doesn't make it. If verse 5 is still precluding him, no, brother, you're appealing to personal pronouns, and Grafton explains it to you, and all of a sudden you're willing to accept it. I don't get it.
I'm not willing to accept it. I just said if you say that this verse it's talking about uni-personal God. But it's okay. Let's look at the rest of the Bible. That's fine. But don't act as if we explained the verse, because we didn't.
No, he said
Gustav, I'm not moving until you concede.
nature God.
I'm not moving until you concede. I'm not moving from this until you concede.
Yes, please. I love that. So
okay, so we're not going anywhere else, right?
I would love that. Me is singular, personal. Besides me, how did you make it my nature? Why are you adding to the verse?
I'm not adding nature to the verse. God, what? You are assuming that God picks out a who. The referent, who is the me, right? The person speaking is excluding other natures. Besides me, there's no other. He's not saying besides me, there's no other person. He's saying besides me, there's no other God. You can only make your argument work if you assume that God is speaking about a specific one person to the exclusion of other persons. That's what I'm saying is being debunked by Isaiah 48. You have
but
not
he's saying
proven
beside
that the
me.
word God
Me is personal. Me is personal.
I'm not. Word me is not what's being contested here. The word God is what is being
No.
elaborated
You're
here.
changing it to God. There is no God. Beside me, there is no God.
This is
Who is me?
there's no other God.
Who is
Guys
me? Who is
on
me?
panel, does the verse say, guys on panel, does the verse say besides me there's no other me? Or does it say besides me there's no other God?
It says, besides me, there's no other God.
Who is me, guys?
Exactly.
People on the panel. Who is me?
It's saying,
Anyone-
Gustav, it's
anyone
saying,
in the
it's saying,
audience, who is me?
well, hold on, Gustav. What he's trying to tell you, okay, for clarification, when he's saying besides me, there's no other God, the word God in Trinitarian belief, is it referring to the nature? Yes or no?
You're asking me?
Yes.
The word God in Trinitarian belief refers to the nature and the
Thank
three
you.
persons.
Okay. Thank you. Go ahead, Grafton.
So if the speaker is excluding other things as God, the nature, then that's obviously going to mean he's not excluding persons who are co-substantial, right?
But he did, because he said, besides me, there is no God.
That is not what is being contested.
Me
The
is
word
personal.
God is what's being contested.
I'm talking about the whole phrase, besides me, there is no other God. And this, besides me, there is no God.
Yes, besides me, the speaker, right? There is no other nature, right?
No one said nature, you're adding.
I'm not adding. God is a nature.
God is a nature and persons, right? You believe not just a nature and three persons. That's what you believe.
I'm aware, but you can obviously see that it's not excluding persons, it's excluding gods.
Definitely excluding persons. He said besides me. He didn't say beside my nature. He said besides me, personal. There is no God.
Literally, no. Does it say no other person, guys, or does it say no other God?
God.
No other God.
But you want
No other
your
God.
priest.
That means Baal, demons.
It's like he can't read. It's
Okay.
like he's lost his reading comprehension.
Harvest, can you tell us then who is me? Can anyone tell me who is me? Anyone
Me
tell
is the
me
speaker.
And who is the speaker?
God.
One person or multi-person who is speaking, who is saying me. One. So he's saying there is no one else but me, the person who is God.
Grafted, what I want you to do is I want you to pin his shoulders to the wall on this, because he is not showing, he's doing what I told him earlier, where he is desperately clinging to these personal pronouns and ignoring how his own God refers to himself. Because if in Isaiah it means me,
you want us to move
hold
away
on,
from this,
Gustav,
that's
hold
fine.
on, brother, hold on. Because if in Isaiah a singular person of the Godhead speaking precludes the other two, he now has to hold the same position about the language and personal pronouns of his own God. Does that make sense? So now when he says we, you'd better be ready to preclude then and conclude that that means that your God is a multi-personal God, at least two persons.
If you want to go to the Quran, I'm very happy to explain it.
I'm just letting Grafted know. I'm just letting Grafted know that this is how silly your argument is, because you're desperately clinging to a personal pronoun, and I have made it clear to you that that doesn't make any sense, because whether it's one person of the Godhead or all three or two of them, it doesn't matter, because they have the same mind and will. It's the same God. They have the same divine essence. One person of the Godhead doesn't say something contradictory to what the other person says, but you're desperately you are holding on to this, so you had better hold the same standard when it comes to your own. Right. Go ahead. I'm gonna mute up. Go ahead, Grafted.
And by the way, this is actually brilliant. We're going to expose his hypocrisy, because if I use this sentence in the same context, right? Let's just assume I'm Allah quickly, and I say, besides me, there's nothing eternal. Does that exclude my attributes?
The attributes are not persons. But so
No. You are assuming I'm speaking about persons again. You are not
It said
proving it.
beside me. Beside me, there is no other. So it has to be whoever
Besides-
else has to be a person. The attributes are not persons.
No, it doesn't. It literally doesn't have to mean a person. Isaiah 48 proves that. Now, address what I said. If I'm Allah and I say, besides me...
Before we go there, are we done with 45.5? Or do you have any other thing you want to say?
Here's my example. If I, as Allah, say, besides me, there's nothing else eternal, does that exclude my attributes, which are co-essential with me?
You added the word nothing else to make it confusing.
No.
Just use the same sentence structure. Use the same sentence structure.
Why can't you be consistent?
Use the same structure. Same structure. Don't add anything.
Same structure, brother. Besides me, there is nothing else eternal. So now that I've used the same sentence,
Said
does that
nothing else. Say beside me there is no God. Yeah.
I haven't even finished. Wow. I'll do it again. I'll repeat, and I'll use the same sentence structure as you asked. Besides me, there is nothing else eternal. Now that I've finished the sentence, does that exclude my attributes, which are co-substantial with me?
Absolutely not.
Can I respond now?
I want you to respond, Gustav, to what I asked you.
Okay. So here is what you did. You said beside me, a person. There is nothing else, an object. You put them, that's grammatically incorrect. If you want, you can say beside me,
Look
no
at the
one is
hypocrisy.
eternal. That's fine. You can say that, but you cannot say nothing. Nothing is an object, not a person.
I'm hearing inconsistency. All I'm seeing is how inconsistent you're being. My question was clear. I didn't ask you about the grammatical makeup. I asked you what is being excluded. Are my attributes?
So I'll correct your question and answer it. Beside me, no one is eternal.
No, I don't need it corrected. I need it answered to show that you can be consistent.
You cannot answer a wrong question. You're saying nothing, and God is not a thing. God is not is a being.
Let's check if my question was wrong, guys. Let's check if this was an incorrect question. Besides me, there is nothing eternal.
Nothing.
Now the question is
God a thing? Is God a thing? Is God a
I'm
thing?
not speaking to you. I'm speaking to the panel. I'm speaking to the panel.
Go ahead.
Guys, let's check if this is an incorrect question that he seems to think needs correction. If I say that there's nothing else eternal besides me, would that exclude my attributes, which are co-substantial with me? Does that question seem incorrect in any way?
Not because I'm a Christian and you're a Christian, but because it makes sense. If you say there's nothing else besides me or no other God beside me, you're not excluding who you are. You're not excluding your character or your nature.
I'm not excluding my nature.
No.
Thank you, sister.
Exactly.
So therefore, anything
Guys,
that
this is a Christian panel. You can just address me.
Did you hear me say that because I'm a Christian, but it makes good sense what the man is saying?
So can I ask you, is God a thing or is God a being?
Oh my
goodness. It
goodness.
doesn't say God a thing in the scripture.
God is a thing or a being?
It doesn't say that.
Is a being a
God.
thing?
So you can refer to God as it?
Oh my
Or
Lord.
do you always refer
You know
to
what?
him?
Here, guys, because he's not engaging with anything the Grafton is saying. He's not.
I'm engaging, but you guys are losing
No,
the plot.
you're not engaging. We're not engaging. So here, let's see if your standard holds up. Okay? Let's see if your standard holds up. Let's appeal to the argument of personal pronouns, guys, and let's see how
So are we
quickly
done with 45.5? Okay.
we
let's move
are
on.
going where I said we're going. Okay?
Let's move on.
We're gonna see if we are going to be consistent, ladies and gentlemen. This is Quran 15:9. Okay? Who sent down the Quran, and indeed we will be a guardian. Who's speaking here?
God.
Okay. Why? Now
One
this is Mr. Personal Pronouns, right?
Right.
Why is your singular being referring to himself as we?
That's like all kings and queens.
Excellent. Now watch this. Watch me pummel this idiotic argument. Why are you insinuating that there was a royal we included in classical Arabic when the royal we was not a linguistic device that was utilized until 500 years after this?
That's wrong.
That's actually not wrong.
That's wrong.
As a matter of fact, I want you to show me, Gustav, hold on, Gustav, hold on. I want you to show me any other example. I dare you to show me any other example in classical Arabic where a ruler or a lord or a king is using the royal we, because it does not exist. I have researched this for years.
I swear, I have many samples.
The 1200s in England is when the royal we was began to be used. Go ahead and show us one. I dare you.
So the royal we is something that God didn't know about.
Gustav, hey, your distraction doesn't work here, brother. I don't know if you've watched me long enough. I'm like a damn pit bull on your neck right now. I'm not letting go. Show me where the royal we was in common usage in classical Arabic in the time of Muhammad. Go ahead.
You want me to show you royal we before the Quran, right?
I want you to show me that the royal we was something that was utilized in classical Arabic in the era of Muhammad. Go ahead.
So you want me to find scriptures that had been preserved since that era that has royal we?
Whoo, man. Brother,
Is that the question?
anything in classical Arabic. I'm even giving you, bro, I'm throwing you the biggest bone possible. I'm not talking about scripture. I'm talking about in your heritage, in Arabian heritage. Show me where the royal we was a linguistic device that was employed in this writing. Because I know for a fact that the royal we was a linguistic device that became popular in the 1200s in England, not in 7th century Arabia. So please go ahead and show us, and I want to see how quickly your standard falls apart for these personal pronouns. Go ahead.
Do you take the Bible as a historical document or no?
Brother man, oh my, I'm telling you right now, bro. I want you to listen to the question, because a second ago, hold on. 5 minutes ago, you were standing on our scripture and you swore to God that you had such an amazing argument, despite the fact that Grafted had to lead you by the nose around the park twice and you still weren't comprehending. So now I'm breaking it down for you, because what you're doing is you're asking the same stupid question over and over in an attempt to distract and buy yourself time.
So what count? So if I show you Arabic poetry before the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, would that count?
Harvest and Grafted, can you repeat my question to me, please?
So as soon as I find the source you're running,
brother, I am asking you to show me in classical Arabic. I am asking you to show me any literature in classical Arabic where God or any other ruler refer to themselves majestically in a plurality, please.
Okay, there is a poet for Imru al-Qais where he's talking.
Show us.
He's talking about a prince.
Show me.
I don't know how to show you this. 1 second. Like, you want me to show what? How can I show it?
Show it on your screen.
I am on my phone. 1 second. Let me see how I can. إذا بلغ الفطام تجر له المباتر ساجدين. Yeah. I can give you the here. You know what I can do? I can write it and then you can Google it.
Sure.
But it's gonna take a minute. So if you guys wanna talk about something else until then. So I found 2 pieces of poetry.
So right here, so Gustav, just so you know, when you type in Google, because you told me to Google it, right? When was the royal we first used? It tells me straight away. The concept was introduced to the English monarchy in the late 12th century, heavily associated with King Henry II and King Richard I. It allowed monarchs to speak simultaneously as a mortal and as a living embodiment of the state. 500 years after.
Yeah, that's maybe in England, but it's well known in Hebrew and in Arabic thousands of years before that.
Thousands, okay.
Yes, that's why. I mean, there are also the king. There is Ezra for what 418. That's in the Bible, right? That's a king speaking, and he's speaking in plural majesty. That's in the Bible. That's Ezra 418. If you just put down Ezra 418. It's saying the letter you sent to us has been translated and read in my
I am talking about an Arabian linguistic device, brother.
There is poetry. I can see if I can.
All right, go ahead. And make sure
I
make
put it
sure
on
you're
the
giving
chat.
us the year. Make sure you're giving us when this actually came out.
The person who wrote this died about 100 years before the prophet was born.
Okay, still waiting for it.
I put it on the chat already. I don't know if we can. If you can, I don't. Know if you can
I don't
Google
see
it.
anything in the chat.
Yeah, go up. Some people.
Here,
wrote,
what is it called?
When a child of ours is weaned, the tyrants fall down before him in prostration.
Wait, what poem are you referring to? That's what I'm saying. What is it called?
Amr ibn Kalthum is the poet.
How do you spell it?
AMR. I'll write it again in the chat.
Yeah, just write the name of the poet.
Yeah.
All right, here we go. Let me copy and paste this. And what's the poem about?
I don't know.
Okay.
You think I know?
All right, hang on. I'm looking for the poem itself. I don't. It's showing me pictures, but I don't. Let's see.
Be honest. Did you use ChatGPT?
You guys are asking about things that are like thousands of years, so of course it's not gonna.
If you say so, brother. Let me see. I'm looking at this, but I don't. Hang on. It's loading up. I said, what's the poem about? He says, I don't know.
Yeah. If you don't even know what the poem is about, just be honest. Did you get this from ChatGPT?
No, not ChatGPT.
Where did you get this? If you don't know what the poem's about, where did you get this?
From the internet, from Google.
Oh, so it was an AI.
Maybe it was an AI. I have no idea.
It could have been.
If you didn't know what the poem was about, that means you didn't search the poem. So that means AI returned it to you.
I mean, what? I don't know. What are we discussing now? How I got it from, or what is the
Bless
problem?
your heart.
Mm-hmm.
Is the problem where I got it from, or okay, I asked the friend.
He's not self-aware.
Right.
All right. So that's it. I think really today that's all I wanted to discuss was Isaiah 45:5, just to show that if like there is nothing else God could have said to say that He's one person.
Brother,
But that's just one scripture, sir. Throughout the whole Bible, you'll find that.
There are many verses. You know what? We can jump to this in Matthew 4:10. Jesus is saying to worship Him only. He's talking about God in the third person. In Mark 12:32, the man said,
Can we resolve Isaiah? Can we resolve Isaiah though? Because when Maverick brought you Isaiah 48, you didn't want to address it. You wanted him to
I'm happy to address it, by the way. I'm happy to address it. Do you want me to address it?
Because that's the thing. When you were shown Isaiah 48, you were like, no, let's first answer 45. So let's stay there. And
I'm here. You want me to go to Isaiah 48:16?
Yeah, why not?
I want to say, guys, may I just say one thing for the panel? I had been in disagreement with you, but you're one of the most respectful panels I ever been on. Truly.
I'm glad to hear it, brother.
Maverick and everyone here.
Because we have love for you, brother.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's much worse out there. As soon as I say something that people don't like, it doesn't go as nice and civil as it went here. So, brother Maverick, I appreciate that from you.
No, I appreciate you being up here, brother. God bless you. Take care of yourself, man.
All right, bye-bye.
It may have been getting a little too hot for him, but that's okay, guys. That's okay. Brilliant argumentation, grafted. But I think that it's desperate because if we're gonna stick to Papas, can I have something to drink? Anything. When we start appealing to personal pronouns, there's no Christian that ever stated that God has to speak in a plurality, right? Because we know who it is. We understand what's going on. We don't feel like if God says something, we're sitting here. Well, what did the other two persons of the Godhead say? Well, the same thing, because they're the same God, right? That what they're trying to get to and trying to use this is essentially acting like my hands and my stomach can disagree with me, right? No, these are not parts. This is the same God. You understand what I'm saying? And that's what they're not understanding. That argumentation is, I mean, I guess because of 1 Corinthians 2:14, guys, we can understand why they don't see things, correctly. But at the same time, it's like that argumentation was so desperate because now you have to lie And you have to say, well, it's okay that our God uses plural pronouns, despite the fact that we are taught that there's only one God. But it's not okay that a triune God utilizes singular pronouns when he's speaking. Our God's not the God of confusion. Thank you, mommy. You know, so yeah, I don't understand. But you know what? Jesus is king, man.
So Minister Maverick, what he did, he brought Isaiah 45:5 to prove that there's only one God. In essence, is that
That there's only one person in the Godhead. That there's not. But if you're trusting Isaiah, again, you have to look at the other books of Isaiah and the Old Testament in its entirety, and look at how many times it does talk about a multi-personal God.
Amen. Amen.
You know,
Amen.
so you can't just look at one and ignore the others, and then even I said, okay, show me an example of a time when the majestic we, right, the plurality of describing yourself, and he brought us a poem that he doesn't even know what it says. So if it does say we, he could literally be talking about him and a group of other people, and he wouldn't even know it.
I'm definitely gonna be praying for Gustav. I promise you, I will. And then he tickled me because he went to Matthew 4:10, where Jesus said, "Don't tempt the Lord your God." Well, who is talking in the Old Testament? He didn't understand that's Jesus.
But then you got to ignore Genesis 19:24. You got to ignore Proverbs 30 verse 4. Yep. You have to ignore the countless verses in the Old Testament that make it clear that there is a multi-personal God, right? That's why that other Muslim earlier who called in started literally swearing at me, because I made it clear to him that what Jews believe today is not what they believed before Christ. Oh, that's bull. That's bull crap. That's bull. No, it's not, brother. Oh, so Alan Siegel knows more than... I'm like, yeah, he clearly knows more than you idiot. The guy wrote this book in 1977. He's a literal rabbinic scholar. Oh, no, but we have to ignore people like that the moment that it disagrees with the idiotic polemic that you've brought forth. Doesn't make any sense. Bear Hunter, you're on stage.
Hey, can you hear me?
Yep.
What are you doing, man?
What's up, brother? How are you?
You earlier shot yourself in the foot when you said that the plural we was never used by kings until the English kings, which is wrong. Even Google says that Romans used it in the 4th century.
It's not what it comes up when I say it, but even then, specifically what I stated was, show me where it was a device utilized in classical Arabic. That's what I asked him.
Later you said that, but first you said the concept didn't emerge until the English.
Well, you clearly weren't listening, but that's okay, Bear Hunter. What else you got?
So it's only fair that I defend this time since I attacked your paradigm last time. So do you want to go
Appreciate the honesty.
Do you go... choose your argument. Last time you pulled up the argument about God having multiple ontologies that don't actualize. Would you like to go with that?
No, let's go with something different. Let's do Muhammad. I haven't spoken about Muhammad in a long time. Why should anybody follow or believe Muhammad as a prophet when he is the only... well, here, Bear Hunter, let me be fair. You believe that Muhammad is the seal of all prophets, right? Like he's the seal of the Abrahamic prophets? Okay. Now, why should we follow a prophet who's actually not in line with the previous prophets?
Define in line.
Well, there's a lot of things.
How do you see him? Yeah.
Let's talk about what I was talking about in the beginning, because I think that was a good conversation. Okay, tell mommy, baby. I have an issue with a man who can tell people that something is a sin, but for him it's not a sin. Does that make sense? If you're going to tell people, for example, you can only marry this amount of females, but then say, but by the way, for me it's not a sin, I find an issue with that. Now, in fairness, I will represent my opponent at the time who said that supposedly this was a charitable action that was done by Muhammad. I find that to be reprehensible, because if you are the messenger of God, you are not above sin. As a matter of fact, you're supposed to be the example. But Muhammad told people that he was able to do this, right? So why should we consider Muhammad a prophet when he did things that the previous prophets didn't do? The previous prophets didn't excuse themselves from sin, but Muhammad did. Why should we think that he's an actual prophet?
So the issue is not that they didn't do sin; it's that they excused themselves from sin. That's your argument.
No, the Bible
previous prophet-
in the Bible, the prophets were an excuse from sin. Actually, God went out of his way to expose it.
Yeah, that's what I'm asking. So you have no problem with prophets actually doing sin, right?
I don't find it problematic because God can use you regardless of your sin.
Okay. So the issue is that Prophet Muhammad says, "I can do this while you cannot." That's the issue, right?
Well, that's one of many things, but yeah, we can start there.
Okay. So the main issue is the one that you brought up is the fact that he can marry more women than normal men, let's say.
Sure, that's one of the things, yeah. But we can start with that just to be fair, not to be deviating too much, yeah.
Okay, so what's the issue if God himself excused this? So
Because-
if God allowed him to marry more women than normal men.
Why? That's a great question. Why would God allow? Because I don't know if you agree with this, so tell me, Bear. The Muslim I was speaking to earlier stated that supposedly Muhammad was allowed to do this because he was marrying widows and that it was a charitable action on behalf of your prophet. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, we see that the marriages that the Prophet had in many instances were to make an example, like, for example, marrying widows or marrying captives of war or something like that.
Okay. So now,
yeah, in that sense, yeah.
Okay. So now there's an issue because if you're classifying this as a charitable action, you are now stating that you have a God who is not allowing charitable action from other Muslim men. Now, that doesn't make it seem like it's charitable. It makes it seem like it's favoritism because he's just trying to give Muhammad his way, which is why even Aisha said to him in Hadith that your God always rushes to give you your desires because she was sarcastically telling him, it's amazing how whenever you want something, God speaks to you and gives it to you. So if this was charity, why would God not have allowed all men to be as charitable as Mr. Muhammad?
Yeah, I don't argue against the fact that God favored Muhammad more than normal men. Yeah, I acknowledge that. But the issue I have is trying to frame God favoring Muhammad as him, because when you see him as the author of the Quran, you'd say, oh, he's making these halal things only for his own benefit. While in other instances, we can see himself in the Quran being attacked or being, let's say, at the end of the pointed finger by God. For example, when he, at many instances, when he went against the general will of God.
Okay.
So
but
that contradiction would mean that it's not him making benefits out of himself. Yeah.
Right. But what you're saying is under the presupposition that God is actually speaking to Muhammad to begin with, right? Which is the contention that I have. Because if you're believing that this is the final Abrahamic prophet, then you would have to believe that this is also the same God. The issue with that is that that same God never in history made something permissible for his prophets or messengers that wasn't permissible for the rest of mankind. Moses didn't come down Mount Sinai with the 10 Commandments and say, by the way, you guys better not do any of this. I can do a couple of these if I want. I can do these if I want because I'm God's messenger. But you can't. That's never happened.
Yeah,
so how can we believe this is the same God?
Yeah, I actually don't think that never happened, because we have God favoring different prophets aside from Prophet Muhammad.
By
example,
allowing them to do sins? Show me one time in the Bible where God allowed one of his messengers to do sin.
Wait, how did God favor Muhammad to do sin?
Right here, look. Here, let me share the screen with you. I'm gonna put it up on screen. Give me a second, because I gotta do it 3 times, but that's okay. Application. Here we go. Okay. You see this? So this is Surah 33, verse 50. O Prophet, indeed we have made lawful to you your wives to whom you have given their due compensation, and those your right hand possesses from what Allah has returned to you of captives, and of the daughters of your paternal uncles, and the daughters of your paternal aunts, and the daughters of your maternal uncles, and the daughters of your maternal aunts who emigrated with you, and a believing woman, if she gives herself to the prophet. And if the prophet wishes to marry her, this is only for you, excluding the other believers. We certainly know what we have made obligatory upon them concerning their wives and those their right hands possess. But this is for you, in order that there will be upon you no discomfort. And ever is Allah forgiving and merciful. My goodness gracious. So,
Okay.
God, right here, your God, making it clear that Muhammad was allowed to do whatever he wanted to do regarding these marriages, and makes it clear this is only for you. So, Bear Hunter, the question bears repeating. How in the heck could we believe that this is the same God and a prophet to the same Abrahamic prophets when God is now literally excusing sin for someone?
Where's the sin here? I don't see the sin.
He
You
has
didn't
made,
lay out
bro,
the
look
sin.
at, let's go back. We certainly know what we have made obligatory upon them concerning their wives and those right hands possess. Right? Okay. But this is for you in order that there will be that there will be upon you no discomfort. So basically, so God here is saying and making it clear that the other believers are not allowed to do this. This is only for Muhammad, and this is Muhammad supposedly receiving revelation and stating, I can do this, and God said it. So it's not uncomfortable for me to violate this edict that God supposedly gave me for other believers, because they can only marry certain women, a certain number of women under certain circumstances. But I, Muhammad, can marry whom I please because God stated that I'm able to do so.
This is chapter what? Excuse
30?
me, I need to put that
Yeah.
up. Okay.
This is 33 verse 50.
33 verse 50.
It
Need
even
to
says in
read
the
the
beginning, we have made lawful for you, O prophet, the wives to whom you have given their dower, and God-given maids and captives you have married, and the daughters of your father's brothers, which, for those of you who are not understanding, the daughters of your father's brothers, so these are people that he's related to, and daughters of your father's sisters, and the daughters of your mother's brothers and sisters who migrated with you. So he can marry any of these people in his family, and a believing woman who offers herself to the prophet if the prophet desires to marry her. So any woman who who just throws herself at him, he can marry her. This is a privilege.
Okay, so not
Look
throw,
right here.
It doesn't mean throw. It doesn't mean throw. It means that when a woman comes up to the prophet and wants to be his wife, he can marry her.
Yeah, brother, that's
Purely
literally,
for
yeah,
him.
that's what I just said.
It's
That's
not. No, you're trying to frame it like she's like a prostitute or something.
no, that's not what that's not what I said. That's
Okay.
not, and that's not how I'm trying to frame it. When I say as an American, a woman throwing herself, that's essentially offering, making it clear that she wants him. That has nothing to do with prostitution, okay?
Yeah, but
right
in
here in the
marriage,
middle of the
it's a
verse,
law.
it says, this is a privilege only for you and not the other believers.
Yeah. Do you know why God is saying only for you here?
Why?
He's saying that the women that you will marry are forbidden for any other man. That's exactly what it means here. In Arabic, we أحللنا خالصة لك. خالصة, it literally means purely for you. So the exception here is that the women that God granted for Prophet Muhammad to marry are only allowed for him.
Why?
There is no sin. There is no sin involved because he's the prophet of God. So he has this.
Good. Now, let me grant you
but
that.
I don't see the sin here. I don't see the sin that you.
Yeah,
alluded
because
to.
this is something that was already earlier in the verse established as haram for anyone else, right? But the issue
what
with
is
that,
haram?
hold on, Bear, it's inconsequential, because the reason that I'm saying it to you is that you're stating that this is the seal of the all prophets, that this is the final Abrahamic messenger, right? Which would mean this is the same God. The problem with that is that this God never did this for anyone else. This God has never, ever stated that something was sin, but the person bringing the message is allowed to do something outside of God's commandment.
Again, brother Maverick, there is no sin here. You keep speaking about sin. I don't see any sin here.
Okay.
So he made.
Let's
he
go back.
made women. Yeah.
We have made lawful for you, O prophet, right? Making it lawful only for him. Wives to whom you have given their dower, and God-given maids and captives. It lists everybody out, right? And your daughters, mothers, brothers who migrated with you, and a believing woman who offers herself to the prophet if the prophet desires to marry her. This is a privilege only for you and not the other believers. Okay, so now This is a privilege only for him. Why is it not for the other believers? Did Muhammad make it clear before this that there was only a certain amount of women? As a matter of fact, here, let's go to 434 so we can make it clear. I mean, not 4:3, not 434, 4:3. In 4:3. And if you fear, and if you fear that you will not deal justly with the orphan girls, then marry those that please you of other women, 2 or 3 or 4. But if you fear that you will, you see what I'm saying? Then marry. Okay.
I see your point.
So now
your point is, previously God allowed maximum for women.
Yes.
So going against that is sin, right?
So according to you guys, going against it for Muhammad is not sin. Now, here's the thing. I'm not contesting that Muhammad made this statement. What I am contesting is that this is obviously not a prophet of the same God, because this God, in all of established human history and theology, whether it was in Israel, modern day Christianity, you don't have a record of God, the God of Abraham, all of a sudden stating that there were certain things he wanted done which are in accordance with his objective morality, but allows one person to do whatever they want anyway.
Okay, not whatever they want. So in a specific thing, you're saying God
allows,
never made an exception.
Let's be fair then. Let's be specific then. Okay. You don't ever have God stating you can marry one person, or I only want one man for one woman, but Moses, you can have as many wives as you want. That's okay with me. Don't worry. This doesn't apply to you. Essentially, this is you see what I'm saying? And the reason we know that this was a point of contention is because at the end of the ayah, right here, according to the Quran, Allah is saying, so that there may be no discomfort for you. The only reason there would be discomfort is because he was the one putting it out there that this is not allowed. But then a couple of chapters later, he's saying, well, this is allowed, but only for me. So God is telling me I don't have to be uncomfortable doing this, despite the fact that he told me originally, this is what we're supposed to be doing as far as marriage only.
Okay. Great. You laid it out perfectly. So we see that God, even throughout the Old Testament, by the way, or throughout the history of Christianity and Judaism, God abrogated many laws. You would say that maybe doesn't fall in abrogation because this is not law that changed to all believers. I would accept that. But I'm seeing that God doesn't only need to abrogate things entirely within the entire law itself. I say that God can make specific abrogation even to specific individuals, here to the Prophet himself, or maybe to Jesus, or to David, or to. We believe that, for example, David had specifically the entirety of animals and jinns and whatsoever, abiding by his own whim, which doesn't happen to all humans, right? But we believe that God can grant that specificity to his own prophets. We see no issue in that. But I don't see this as him going against sin or being involved in sin whatsoever.
Well, Bear Hunter, and as well as eloquent as that explanation was, you have an issue, because let's say that I granted you the concept of abrogation biblically, right? Let's say that I did. You now have the burden of giving me an equivalent of example of when Yahweh permitted an action from one of his messengers that he refused to permit for anyone else in mankind. That's what you are stuck showing to us, because there's kind of a false equivalence in what you're saying, right? Now, as God brought the Israelites out of Egypt, was there a very progressive way that God had to do things? Yes. But that's because God, being who he is, understands better than anyone that he had to do things in a very incremental and progressive way, because these people were coming out of countless years of paganism and being exposed to paganistic practices. So God had to show them little by little. That's not abrogation. That is correction. Do you see the difference? So it's for example, like when God told them, don't call me Baal. Was he telling them that they couldn't call him Baal because he used to allow that? No. He was telling them, don't call me that because Baal is a false god. You will not refer to me with that name because I am truly God. I am Yahweh. You will not call me Baal. That's not abrogation. That is correction.
But he did allow it at a certain time, right?
He did not allow it.
To call. I think I've read that at a certain point in time,
read it again.
Were allowed to call God husband.
No, so brother, you're confusing. You're confusing what one of the meanings for the word Baal. But God never allowed himself. God did not allow them to call him the name of a false god that was worshipped by the Canaanites. I don't know where you read that. I would implore you to go read it again properly. But that's neither here nor there. You are confusing abrogation with progressive correction in order that it needed to be so that the Israelites would eventually fall in line. And even then, they constantly, throughout their history, fell back into idol worship and back into paganism. Because as human beings, we're stubborn. It's not because they were Jewish, it's because they're human. Now, having said that, now that we've cleared that up, understand, Bear Hunter, that what you have still not done is you have still not established a correlation between how we could look at Yahweh and say this is the God of the Quran, because we never had a messenger that was excused of a standard that was put forth by God. That never happened. Never.
Amazing. I'm actually glad you framed the last phrase in that way because it will prove my point here.
Okay.
So you agree that there is a prophet mentioned in the Bible that slept with his daughters, right?
Talking about Lot? Hold on. Are you talking about Lot?
Yeah. Whether it's his intention or not, the act in of itself is not permissible, right? And it has its own context and whatnot. I agree, right? Yeah, it hasn't. I agree about the context.
Please be careful. Okay, I love you. Go ahead, Bear. I'm listening to you. Go ahead, Bear. I'm listening to you. I can multitask.
Yeah. I know. But God can excuse him, right? And he did excuse him. So he was not pulled up to any punishment whatsoever. Neither did his daughters, right?
God, well, here, you're saying that God excused the behavior. God did not excuse the behavior.
No, not. So, okay, so did God punish him?
Here, watch. Let's bring it up together.
Hmm?
What did God do as a result of Lot's daughter sleeping with him? In the biblical account, God does not directly punish Lot or his daughters with a stated judgment after the incident in Genesis 19. The story says Lot's daughter got him drunk on 2 successive nights because they believed there were no men left for them to preserve their family line after destruction of Sodom and Gomorrah. Genesis says that the daughters became pregnant. The older daughter gave birth to Moab, the ancestor of the Moabites. The younger daughter gave birth to Ben-Ami, ancestor of the Ammonites. Those nations later became recurring enemies of Israel in the Old Testament narrative. So right away, what ended up happening to the descendants of Lot from both genealogical lines, Bear Hunter, they became an enemy of whom?
Of Israel.
Thank you. And who were the chosen people of God?
Israel.
Thank you. So the entire genealogical line of both daughters who participated in this reprehensible act became people who ended up being judged regularly by God.
Yeah, I see your point here. But the issue is not that. It's not whether eventually.
It is eventually, because God's judgment is eternal, brother. What are you talking about?
Just if you allow me to finish my point. The issue is not whether God eventually made out his judgment upon the generations after. My issue is that Lot and his daughters at the time were excused with something that
when does it say they were excused?
Were they punished? What's the punishment of
Did you even bother to see was God, if you Google was God displeased by the act done by Lot's daughters? Yes, the biblical context strongly indicates that the act was sinful and displeasing to God, even though the text does not record an immediate verbal condemnation afterward. Incest is later explicitly condemned in God's law. In the book of Leviticus 18 and 20, sexual relations between close family members are clearly forbidden. So later revelation So now show me anywhere in here. So now what you're trying to do is again another false equivocation, Bear, because you're taking things that the fact that we know God didn't permit it is because you and I are discussing it and acknowledging it that it was sinful behavior. And we know that it was sinful behavior only because the Bible tells us so. But aside from that, this is not the same thing as Yahweh. First of all, just because the punishment wasn't immediate, it didn't matter, because Genesis 50:20 makes it clear that God uses all people in action for his plan, regardless of whether your intent is to serve him or not. So what God ended up doing was using the genealogical offspring of these two women who decided to participate in this detestable act, and everyone who succeeded from them were treated basically as scumbags who were constantly trying to attack Israel, became mortal enemies of Israel. Now, you're stating somehow that correlates to your God telling Muhammad that it's okay for him to participate in action that is contradictory to action that is applied to other Muslim men. There's nothing in the book of Genesis that states that God condoned what Lot's daughters did, okay? Because even in there, it makes it clear that it was because of his drunkardness that this happened, and had he not been drinking, that would not have happened, right? But even aside from that, there's nowhere in the book of Genesis that you can even remotely state that God stated that this was okay for Lot and his daughters, the way that he is stating that Muhammad can just marry whomever he pleases. That's not that is such a false equivalence.
Okay, so you're seeing a false equivalence for this specific reason.
Are you? Here.
No, I'm saying the reason is.
Let me word it. I want to word it better for you, Bear. I want to word it for you better.
Okay.
Can we find anywhere in the book of Genesis where Yahweh made where he stated that this was permissible, that this was a permissible action?
We're on the same wavelength. I was about to answer you.
Okay, cool.
So I agree and grant you that God doesn't verbatim say to any prophet, as far as I know, that, oh, hey, this sin is totally fine for you to do. I agree. That doesn't exist as far as I know about the Bible. I won't feign any knowledge that I don't have about the Bible.
Absolutely.
So in that sense, I agree. And I also affirm that the narrative that the Quran has in of itself is not similar in any way to the Bible, right? So the Bible is a bunch of stories written by prophets, sometimes written as biographies and what. So the narrative itself doesn't exist. We don't see God speaking directly in the entirety of the Bible.
Correct.
In passages we do, but not the entirety. That's one reason why we cannot see a direct equivalence here. But the point I'm trying to make is, in this instance, although we don't see God directly saying, hey, this is totally fine to do, we see God making an exception to his prophets. We know that the direct punishment for adultery...
But Bear Hunter, that's what I'm saying. Where do you see Yahweh ever making an exception for his prophets in the Bible?
Yeah. Usually when daughters commit adultery with their own father, they need to be stoned to death, right?
Correct,
That's
but
the law.
Right, but this is so here, Bear Hunter. Had that law,
There was nobody around to stone them.
exactly. Had the Leviticus,
Exactly.
but you actually, your argument is actually not even chronological. The story that you're giving is in Genesis. Okay, the Levitical law actually came out quite some time after that. So you do understand that the stoning law was at that time not in existence, and the population was exponentially smaller. So you actually, what you did was you jumped this. If here, let me explain to you this way. If the daughters of Lot had performed this action during the time of the Levitical law, there would have been no Moabites, because they would have been stoned to death that day. But those laws had not yet been implemented. The Israelites had not even been freed from Egypt yet. Moses wasn't born for centuries yet. You do know that, right?
Yes. Yeah, I see your point. So you're saying the law would not be upheld until that Moses comes up with
Correct,
the Ten
because
Commandments,
this is right. This is when the population had grown. This is when the Israelites had been freed. Then Moses received the law. Then you go from Exodus into Leviticus, and then eventually into Deuteronomy. And this is when the laws, and this is now when we are going into that slow progression that I talked to you about, which God was doing with people individually anyway. But Bear Hunter, I feel like we've lost the plot here, brother. What I'm trying to explain to you is that no matter what we do and speak about biblically, Genesis, Leviticus, Exodus, Deuteronomy, we can go to Proverbs, we can go to Isaiah, it doesn't matter. There's not going to be an instance where we have our true God looking at individual guys and saying, I want you to give this law to everybody else, but you go ahead and do whatever you want. That doesn't exist, man.
Again, I am trying to say, to find something of equivalence. I'd say, but the issue here is
that there is none.
All, like I said,
I know, Bear.
No, that's not the real issue, because here I see even if the law wouldn't be upheld at the time of Lot, I would ask why God wouldn't command him to do something to punish his adultering.
Because Genesis 50:20 makes it clear that God, first of all, God is not obligated to act in justice in the way that you and I feel that he should. If God did not immediately destroy them, it's because he obviously understood that his plan did not include them receiving judgment at that time. And let me explain something to you. If these girls knew what was going to become of all of their descendants and their sons, daughters, grandsons, granddaughters, and everyone that came from this action, I as a person, if I knew that that was going to happen to everybody that ever came from my seed, I would rather lose my life right then than for everyone who came after me to pay for my idiocy, right? This is what I'm trying to tell you. God's judgment.
It's a proper punishment.
I'm saying that whatever God deems to be proper punishment is the proper punishment. You and I don't have the foresight to understand what is going to be proper punishment and then still perfectly harmonize that with whatever God's plan was anyway. The man who literally sees the beginning from the end. We don't see that. You and I see on a straight line. We see like this. God's looking at it like this. He's looking at us like we're in a fishbowl. You see what I'm saying?
I agree. He's all-knowing. He sees the future and he knows more.
Right.
I mean, he's more wise than us. But then again,
if I may interject for a second, so I don't mean to interrupt
No,
you.
not at all.
But think about Jesus. Think about Jesus when those old wicked religious leaders brought the woman taken in adultery to Jesus. They were trying to trap him, and they said, she needs to be stoned. That's why he said, okay, throw the stones if you have no sin.
Correct.
He who is without sin cast the stone.
Amen.
See, God was showing mercy then.
Amen. Yeah. But here, let's do this. Let's do this, Bear Hunter, because one thing you did say and that's one of the reasons why I always will let you on, because I do love that you're not one of those guys who pretends like you can find something that's not there. You've admitted I'm really not going to find an equivalence in the Bible, and that's the point. I know there's not going to be an equivalence in the Bible. That's why we're bringing it up.
I said it's because the narrative is not the same.
I'm sorry?
I said that mainly the equivalence will not be found because we don't see at all the arcs of the stories God speaking always. We don't find him always speaking.
But even if we were to approach it from that lens, okay, let's just say that that's the lens that we wanted to approach it with. Okay, that in and of itself, I don't think you understand what you're doing there, because you're stating that Muhammad is. Whoops. So give me 1 second, guys. You are stating that Muhammad is the seal of these prophets, right? But then we are made or expected to believe that this very same God, the very same God who has been dealing with these same prophets, we're expected to believe that this is the same God. Here's the problem. God doesn't change, brother. So God is not going to treat Muhammad differently than he did Lot, or he did Abraham, or he did anyone else. That's what I'm trying to explain to you. You have admitted that the interaction is different, that the abrogation is different. What I'm trying to explain to you is that there is no different in a God that doesn't change. Our God does not change, brother. That's the problem. So you have to either acknowledge that
When
this
you
is
say
not.
God doesn't change, you mean that he doesn't change his perspective about what sin is?
I mean
and
that he
whatnot?
doesn't change ever. He doesn't change. God is eternally the same. His attributes don't change. His triune nature doesn't change. The way that he interacts, the way that he gives law, the way that he expects you to compose yourself, the righteousness that he expects you to try to uphold, despite the fact that he knows that you can't, is not going to change, right?
Does
He
he
not,
change?
he
Does
has
he
something
change
called
covenants and laws?
he fulfills covenants. He doesn't change them. Do you know the difference?
Wait. So you agree that before Jesus the law was physical and after him it wasn't? according to
Before
Paul,
Jesus, you're talking about the old. There's a difference between the old covenant and the new.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
Right.
So
But
God didn't
Jesus-
change,
Jesus-
although the covenant changed.
Right, but Jesus made it clear that this wasn't a change; it was a fulfillment. Do you know the difference? Jesus' sacrifice was literally the fulfillment, the completion of those laws.
Okay.
Which means that they weren't done away with; they were satisfied. Does that make sense? That's not a change. There's a complete difference. If you go, let's say Bear Hunter, you go and you finance a new car today. God willing, you can do. I don't know if you do that, but God willing, you're able to be blessed and get a new car. And you go to finance that car, right? And you get a deal. What would you say is usual, Bear Hunter? But like a 5-6 year financing, depending on how much you want to pay monthly, what your interest rate is going to be, who's going to finance you,
What
right?
you talking about? I buy them cash, man. I buy them directly, man.
Yeah. Well, let's say you weren't fortunate enough to pay them in cash, and you had to be financed, right?
Mm-hmm.
If the last day you pay that loan off, it's fulfilled. That loan is fulfilled, right?
I see. Yeah.
Does that mean that it was not there? Does that mean that it doesn't exist? No. That loan is still in the record. It's just satisfied.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
But here's my issue with that statement here.
Okay.
Is that when God spoke to Abraham and told him that he will take and he will make the covenant with him and what's so on, and that he will give him this land and what's so, he told them this specific thing. He told them that my covenant on your flesh is eternal, right?
What verse are you talking about?
I don't remember the verse exactly, but it's where he said that he will give him the land of Israel, and that after that Abraham took all of his children and made them circumcised.
Okay, I'll walk with you. I'll walk with you for a second. So what is the point you're trying to make?
My point is when he said that the covenant on the flesh, which is circumcision, right, is eternal. What does that mean? So if we start doing circumcision,
what are you talking about? Old Testament or New Testament?
Old Testament.
Okay, so the circumcision was part of the covenant with God, correct? Yes.
Okay, so when God told them that the circumcision, that covenant on the flesh is eternal, what does that mean? So eternal until Jesus is crucified?
Correct. Well, yeah, because even when Jesus makes that sacrifice, there is still a circumcision, but it changes from a physical circumcision to a circumcision of the heart, which now encompasses Jew and Gentile.
Yeah, but where did you get that from?
Here.
Where did you get the point where it's no longer on the flesh?
Circumcision of the heart. The Bible speaks about circumcision of the heart in multiple places, especially in the Old Testament and then again in the New Testament. Deuteronomy 10:16, circumcise therefore the foreskin of your heart and be no longer stubborn. Okay, Deuteronomy 30 verse 6, and the Lord your God will circumcise your heart and the heart of your offspring, so that you will love the Lord your God with all your heart and with all your soul, that you may live. Jeremiah 4:4, circumcise yourselves to the Lord, remove the foreskin of your hearts. Book of Jeremiah 9:25-26, all the house of Israel are uncircumcised in heart. So yes, Bear Hunter, the physical circumcision was an outward sign of obedience to Yahweh, but the Old Testament constantly spoke of circumcision to the heart, which was obedience to God, love, and relationship with God. Even though the Israelites were horrible.
Yeah, I would say it's metaphorical when we speak about circumcision of the heart. But,
well,
but
yeah,
when
you're not going to try to
God,
circumcise your heart for real, you'll die.
Exactly. That's my point. But what I mean is when God says that the circumcision on the flesh or the covenant on the flesh is eternal, and I see Christians not doing circumcision, saying that we don't abide by that law anymore. Why God says that it's eternal, and you emphasize on the
No,
point
brother,
that
because
God is eternal.
the eternality bear is talking about the circumcision of the heart. That's why I just read you those verses. The eternality of the physical act of circumcision went away because that was an old covenant law. That was actually a ceremonial law. And that is law. The dietary laws, the ordinance laws, the ceremonial laws, those were fulfilled by the sacrifice of Christ.
Yeah, I'd agree that paradigm to some extent explains what the circumcision of the heart is more important and whatnot. But my issue is that when I agree with you that God is eternal and doesn't change, and I hear him say that this circumcision on the flesh, and he specifies on the flesh needs to be eternal, that's my only problem. But then again,
That's what I'm saying. Though,
where
that's why I was asking you for the verse. Where are you saying that the circumcision of the flesh has to be eternal? What are you talking about?
Give me a second.
Sure.
Give me a second.
Cal says, read Ezekiel 44:9. Absolutely, brother. Ezekiel 44:9. Thus says the Lord God, no foreigner uncircumcised in heart and flesh of all the foreigners who are among the people of Israel shall enter my sanctuary. Amen, brother. Thank you. Ezekiel, I will tell you, I love the imagery in Ezekiel. I actually used ChatGPT to generate
It's Genesis. Sorry to cut.
No, you're fine.
Genesis 17, verse 13.
Okay, so we'll read 17 in totality. You said verse 13, so let's start at like 9. And God said to Abraham, as for you, you shall keep my covenant, you and your offspring after you throughout their generations. This is my covenant, which you shall keep between me and you and your offspring after you. Every male among you shall be circumcised. You shall be circumcised in the flesh of your foreskins, and it shall be a sign of the covenant between me and you. He who is 8 days old among you shall be circumcised. Every male throughout your generations, whether born in your house or bought with your money from any foreigner, who is not of your offspring. Verse 13, both he who is born of your house and he who is bought with your money shall surely be circumcised. So shall my covenant be in your flesh, an everlasting covenant. So so this is not saying that circumcision is eternal, brother. This is talking about the covenant. Okay, so listen carefully to what it says. Both he who is born in your house and he who is bought with your money shall surely be circumcised. Right? You with me so far? The second part is right here where I think you're confusing it. So shall my covenant, the covenant, this is the old covenant, right? This is when God is establishing the covenant, right? So shall my covenant be in your flesh, an everlasting covenant. Do you know what he's talking about there?
I'd say it's talking about circumcision.
He's talking about Abraham and his generations to come, brother. It's not talking about the circumcision. That's why it says, so shall my covenant. That means the relationship established between Yahweh and Abraham and his offspring shall be an everlasting covenant, meaning that the relationship that they have with God is everlasting. That is not talking about everlasting circumcision. Circumcision is actually spoken about in the first half of verse 13.
Yeah, but when I read this literally, it still speaks about circumcision, and that this is a sign or a covenant or a sign of agreement that shall be everlasting. So that's why Jews still uphold this law, right?
Okay, so but Bear Hunter, listen carefully to what it's saying. So shall my covenant be in your flesh, an everlasting covenant, right? Does it say everlasting circumcision, or is it saying that the covenant is going to be everlasting?
The covenant is.
The covenant is not only the circumcision. The covenant is the established relationship and set of laws, right, that Yahweh has with Abraham and his descendants. It has nothing to do with circumcision only. That is only put forth as an outward sign, as you are my follower. Every infant 8 days old will be circumcised. Okay. This is establishing a covenant. Then God transitions away from the actual practice and states, because your covenant with me will be everlasting. It has nothing to do with circumcision being an everlasting covenant. That's not what it's saying.
Yeah, I agree with you that.
Maverick, can you read Colossians chapter 2, 11 and 12?
Colossians 2. It would help if I could spell Colossians 2. Okay. I put Colossians. Wait, I still spelled it wrong. All right, Colossians 2:11 and 12. 11 states, "In him also you were circumcised with a circumcision made without hands, by putting off the body of the flesh, by the circumcision of Christ, having been buried with him in baptism, in which you were also raised with him through faith in the powerful working of God, who raised him from the dead."
But the circumcision is still in place. And you were right about the everlasting covenant that's being mentioned, but circumcision is not done away with. It's just now a circumcision without hands. The circumcision with hands was the cutting of the foreskin, but the circumcision without hands is being baptized in Christ, which we do with water. Correct. So that is the new circumcision.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Exactly, Bear.
Yeah,
but you know, Bear. But Bear, real quick, and not because I'm trying to get Scala, because I think you to be fair, I have gone down every rabbit hole biblically that you want me to go down with you. But look at where we're at. I want this to become very apparent to everyone present. The original question that we were discussing is how it is that I don't believe, this is just one, we didn't even get past example one, why Muhammad is not truly a prophet and why this isn't the actual God of the Bible. A God who is excusing what he has made sin for everyone else. Something he did not do for Abraham, Jacob, Isaac, Moses, anyone else. He didn't have to do it for Jesus because Jesus was sinless. But then come Muhammad, and we have a guy who is literally in a book that is considered holy to so many saying, by the way, you can't do this, but I can. Bear Hunter, the problem is you admitted this yourself. There's no biblical example of God doing this. And whether or not the Bible is written in the way that it is written or not, because I know what you're appealing to. You're stating the Quran's only one person, directly narrated by the same guy, and the style and whatever, blah, blah, blah. And the Bible is different. The Bible is 40 different authors, 3 different continents, 1,500 years, transcending time, language, philosophy. And so we don't directly see it. But here's the problem, brother. If we had that type of God, we wouldn't have to look that hard in the Bible to see when these prophets, when these messengers are excused from what is normally known as sin to the rest of mankind. Bear, you cannot sit there and tell me, honestly, in your heart of hearts, that this is the same God when he has never in millennia done this. And then all of a sudden, when it comes to something as convenient in marriage, and we all know what marriage leads to, all of a sudden Muhammad is allowed to do this, what other men are not allowed to do. You don't find that. I'm going to be honest. I want you to be honest with me, okay? And this is not a gotcha moment. You don't find that even the least bit convenient, just a scotch convenient, that your prophet can have more women than everyone else?
Yeah, like I said at the beginning when I answered you, I see the point. I see the point that would say that, hey, Mrs. Muhammad making these obviously very, very convenient rulings to himself, right? I'm not denying that it would seem that way. But also I agree that this kind of argumentation is actually smart, because even that disruption in the method of acting, you also appeal to that argumentation about Gabriel not speaking in this manner to Muhammad. For example, when he first appeared to Muhammad, that's we don't find that anywhere in the Bible.
Well,
So
you're
that kind of argumentation-
talking about.
Yeah.
Are you accusing me of exact word fallacies?
No, I'm saying that when you argue that these things we don't see in the Bible, we don't see Gabriel shaking a prophet or something like that. We don't see a prophet having these kind of convenient rulings.
Right.
I see your point. I see that, and it's actually a smart argumentation. I don't deny it.
Okay.
But the issue here, it still doesn't deny, can God actually do these things or not? He can.
I don't.
It
Well,
doesn't-
it's to me, brother. It's not an argument of could he, but would he. And what the God of the Bible demonstrated to us over countless years and throughout time and history is that he wouldn't. That it's not about could, brother. It's about would. It's about justice. It's about mercy. And Yahweh has proven time and again that he is a God of perfect justice and perfect mercy. Justice is not perfect if you are circumventing sexual pleasure for someone who is claiming to be a prophet. And that's really what it bears down to, Bear Hunter, is the fact that the way that I see it, and we've been speaking for quite some time, so for over an hour, and it's been an extraordinarily pleasant conversation because I love nothing more than using the Bible to show. I love nothing more than using the Bible to show every point that I'm making, right? We talked about Lot, his daughters, Abraham, Moses. We've been in the weeds, right? And we've been having some great back and forth. But the problem is, in speaking about Lot and his daughters and Abraham and Moses and the Levitical law and Deuteronomy and the Exodus and everything else, we see one thing over and over, that in none of these situations did God ever say, that's okay for you. He did. As a matter of fact, he did the opposite. When David was caught in adultery, God made sure that he was exposed for that sin. When Moses took the life of that Egyptian guard, he made sure that he was exposed for it. When Lot's daughters did that, he ensured they were exposed for it. When Abraham tried to sell his wife, he ensured that he was exposed for it. When he decided to have a child with another woman instead of his wife, instead of trusting in God's plan, and Ishmael resulted, he ensured that Abraham was exposed for it. Do you see the difference? Do you see how there's a huge difference between a God who says, listen, God is very straightforward. God is very straightforward. I don't understand why you think that when I say something, you're going to do whatever you want to do. Look at Zechariah. When Gabriel brought the message to Zechariah still wanted to deny it and lost his ability to talk until the moment his son was born.
But here's the issue. God can grant specific advantages to specific prophets. For example, Jesus is the only one that claimed to be the Messiah and is actually the Messiah. So him actually claiming to be the Son of God to the Pharisees and Jews would seem like something extraordinary or out of what they believe God would allow to do, but that's actually the case, and that's something new.
So the equivalent. I'm sorry.
Just to finish my
no,
point.
go ahead. I'm sorry.
And I also believe that since the Prophet Muhammad is the seal of the Prophet and the greatest of prophets, he has some specific advantages that no other prophets would have, and that would seem extraordinary. I agree, but still, also. They have this issue when speaking to Christians and atheists and whatnot, that they will think that Prophet Muhammad doesn't have any sexual desires or cannot act upon them or whatnot, but he's a man, he has desires and can be granted by God the advantages to lawfully, and I emphasize lawfully, have a way to
Bear Hunter, let's be honest. Let's be honest. It was lawful according to what Muhammad said that God said. We have to be honest and we have to be precise in our language. Now let's talk about the comparison with Jesus Christ. Jesus Christ never, ever in the Bible stated, well, I can call myself God because God told me I can call myself God. No, Jesus demonstrated that he was God through several means, right? Through the fulfillment of prophecy, through his sacrifice, through his action, through his teachings, right? The fact that he established in Revelation 1:17 and 18, in John 17:5, in John 1:1, Jesus was making it clear, I am who I am. I am who I am. John 8:58, right? So this isn't something that was a privilege that the Father had to grant upon the Son, because the Father made it clear that all creation, that there was nothing created that was not created through the Son. So you're conflating two massive categories, right? Even in your book, your God raised Isa up to him and spared him death. Even Muhammad, even though I don't believe he actually knew what was in the scriptures, he understood how important it was to constantly appeal to Jesus Christ in order that people would actually look at him as a prophet. Because he understood that if he didn't, he wouldn't have gotten the following that he did. But then, Bear, what's even crazier than that is you're stating that, well, because Muhammad was a man, it stands to reason that God would make something permissible for him in order to satisfy his sexual pleasure. Are you now stating that God is a God who is more interested in the sexual pleasure of his messenger than he is of the actual message he's trying to convey. Because when King David did that, God was not happy and definitely did not approach it in that way. So now again, Bear, you have illustrated that this is not the same God. Because when men were caught in adultery, when they were caught in incest, when they were caught in idolatry, God was not pleased ever. There's never a time where God addressed a sin and was pleased about his messenger committing said sin. Then you have 600 years after Jesus, a guy saying, you guys can only marry 4 women. But don't worry, God told me I can marry whomever I want. Anybody in my family, anybody that I buy, anybody that I come across, anybody who offers herself to me, and I can marry them. And God said so. And I'm letting you guys know that God said so that when I do it and you see me doing it, there's no discomfort. Brother, that's not the same God. It's not even the same religion. It's not the same faith.
Yeah.
It's not the same progression.
I see the point that you're trying to make, but the issue here is that when you see it from the lens of Christianity, from the lens that doesn't acknowledge the miracles and prophecy that Prophet Muhammad had, which would mean that he is a prophet, and the actual argumentation from the Quran itself that would also prove that he is a prophet, you would argue that. I agree. But here's the issue. When I put myself in the shoes of Jews who had a certain knowledge of God throughout history until Jesus came, you'd argue they'd have the same kind of questions that you are making right now, right?
No, I would
never. They would argue that God never had birth through a virgin. God never was crucified. God never made.
Bear, I wouldn't do that, because what you're doing is you're arguing from a false presupposition. You're arguing what you're not understanding is what the Jews really actually believed about God up until Jesus Christ, and what they believe now versus what they believed before. What they believed before about a multi-personal God only became heretical after the crucifixion and resurrection of Jesus Christ. And that was only because the political powers that be in the Pharisees had to ensure that the theological interpretations of their scripture had to be different than what they were before, simply and only because it was necessary to preclude Jesus from the Godhead. Before that, and I just talked about this, there's actually a book by a man named Alan Siegel who talks about this. It's called The Two Powers in Heaven. And there are many, many other rabbinic scholars that are very honest about what the ancient...
The book?
The Two Powers in Heaven. Look up the book. It's available on Amazon. And it talks about what Jews actually believed before. And there is tons of manuscript evidence. There is tons of additional writings outside of the Torah that he references. Okay, and in his research, and makes it clear to you that what Jews thought about God and who God was before Jesus varies rapidly after Jesus resurrects. Now, ask yourself why. Ask yourself why those beliefs only became heretical historically almost this close to when Jesus resurrected. Because before that, they had no problem believing in a multi-personal God. So, Bear, that's actually an argumentation that you probably should stop using until you research that further.
I can grant you that maybe they believed in a multi-personal God for the sake of their argument. Even if we agree upon that, they would find it weird that God went through an actual birth, right? They never witnessed it before. It's something new. You'd argue that it is, right?
Well, yeah, Bear, of course. Well, here's the thing. Not witnessing something before doesn't mean that it's not possible, right? Because the Old Testament talks about a virgin birth.
Exactly. That's my point. That's my point. Right. Something not happening or something that God didn't do before doesn't mean that God cannot do it, right?
Correct. But you're literally equating the living God to a 7th century caravan trader whom is literally, look at what you're comparing. You're comparing a man who literally, according to biblical and hostile attestations, was never found to be with sin, never did anything that benefited himself but always benefited others, right? The man whose name has literally changed our planet, okay? The man who, the religion that sprouted after him, it succeeded despite the fact that it was illegal to the point of execution. Take into account that there were already thousands of Christians before a single line of the New Testament was even written, okay? And then ask yourself, how could I possibly compare that man to Muhammad, who is simply stating, well, you guys, don't worry about it. You can't marry as many women as I can, but God told me I can marry these women. Do you see what you're comparing here? Do you understand where I'm coming from?
But then again, I see point. But then again, Brother Maverick, you'd have to see that it was only obligated upon the Prophet to actually pray the entire night. It was only obligated upon the Prophet to do some extra work within the actual prayers and actual obligations to God that normal humans are not allowed to.
For example,
in equivalence, I see it as balance.
Can you give us an example of that? Can you show me where I can find that?
Yeah. Okay. So there is a verse that obligates on the Prophet to pray, to actually pray throughout the night. And normal men are not obligated to do that.
To pray throughout the night. So he never slept?
Yeah, it's actually attested that the Prophet, well, he would sleep for 2 hours or something like that, but he'd wake up throughout the night and pray.
Okay. And you're saying
Wait,
that...
how does...
Go ahead. I mean, go ahead, because I got to get dressed anyway, so go ahead and cook, brother. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, but how does that equate him having the ability to do all of these extra things? Why does by him doing that, he gets special privilege?
That was literally going to be my next question.
No, I'm saying that it's not actually all advantages given to him. It's actually advantages and obligations, so it's balanced. If he would make a book that would claim him being a false prophet and whatnot, why would he obligate upon himself to do such hard things? It doesn't make sense, right? He would
No,
only
that actually makes that actually makes perfect sense. He does that because he knows people will be watching him. That's why.
No, he doesn't. He doesn't. He's already an established prophet, right? He doesn't need to obligate upon himself to pray throughout the night.
Yeah, but he's an established
Doesn't make
prophet.
sense.
I mean, like according to who?
Even if according to himself, he already established that he is a prophet, right? And he managed to fool people. Yeah, I'm going through with your own paragraph.
According to what though? According to who? Like, this is the thing that I'm talking about. Okay, he's a prophet according to himself. He's a prophet according to what criteria?
Are you
Like,
asking
what makes this?
Yeah,
Yes.
what's my argument?
Yeah, what makes this guy a prophet? I'm just curious.
Okay, well, anything that would make a prophet would be making actual prophecy that came out to be true, making having miracles. When you read the actual text of the Quran, it has to somewhat align with the previous scriptures, with the idea of God, with the idea of heaven and hell. These many things would prove him to be a prophet, right? Or even if not 100% prove him to be a prophet, it would make credibility for him to be a prophet.
Okay, let's go one by one. And one of the things you said was miracles. Okay, El Masih Dajjal, he's gonna do miracles too, right?
Yeah.
And people are gonna think that he's some type of prophet, or they're just gonna think that he's the Messiah.
No, they will think that he's God himself.
Right, okay. But he's not really God, and he's tricking people, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you know that in the Bible, in the book of Revelation, we also have miracles? In the book of Revelation, it says that one of the signs of the end is that the Euphrates River will dry up, and the Euphrates River has dried up. That's a miracle according to our book. So does it now mean that Kitab al-Muqaddas, does it now mean that it's true?
The Bible?
Yes.
Yeah, we believe that the Bible has
no,
truth.
I'm talking about my Bible.
What Bible?
The Bible, the Bible I have today. In the book of Revelation, it says that the Euphrates River will dry up. That's a miracle because the Euphrates River actually is drying up. So that's a miracle for us. Does that mean now that the Bible is true because it has miracles in it?
It means that it has truth, yeah.
Okay, but it doesn't mean that it is true, right?
Yeah. So if I write a book that has some actual true claims and some false claims, does make the entirety of the book right?
Exactly. But okay, so this is the point that I'm making. Al-Masih ad-Dajjal, when he comes, he'll do miracles. It doesn't mean that he's true. The Bible, according to you, it has miracles in it. It doesn't mean that the Bible is true. So that can't really be a good criteria as to how you know this guy is a prophet, because he could be
Exactly.
receiving power from shayateen.
Demons, yeah, I agree.
So we need something else. Give me another
Yeah,
criteria. You said something
I'm,
about the
I'm saying
Quran.
no. You don't
Sorry,
have
go ahead.
one single. You don't. The issue is that you're trying to find one single criteria that will make profit. And I'm saying you won't find that, no matter what you try. One single miracle won't. You'd have to see the actual what
So
people
the
say about
totality.
this man. What does he do? What does he think? These things,
Okay.
these
Okay,
biography,
I
for
understand what
example,
you're saying.
complete. Yeah, in the generality of these things compiled will give you an idea whether this guy is saying nonsense or not. Because many
Okay.
actual people came after the Prophet Muhammad and claim to be prophets, but when you actually read about them, you see that they are normal beings just hallucinating. You know.
Okay, so let's look at this one then. So we had the idea of miracles. I do agree with you. If
You
we
just. I'm gonna stick for 1 minute and I'm gonna have to go. That's the issue. Yeah.
okay.
But go
Well,
ahead and
yeah,
ask your
I'll
question.
just say, of course. So we were looking at the idea of miracles, and I agree with you. We need a totality, like a holistic view. So there's the idea of Muhammad being the seal of the prophets. So I mean, according to Islam, he is. But how would you know that he's the seal of the prophets? Like, this goes into the whole worldview system.
Yeah.
How do we know
Yeah.
that he's the seal of the prophets?
Yeah, so he's the last one that came up with a general law that became a religion that became massively attested and massively widely
No,
spread.
that's not
So
true.
that's how I know he's the last. What?
That's not true. There's Joseph Smith. There's Brigham
How
Young.
many Mormons around the world?
Millions.
Millions. So they are not billions, right?
I mean, I mean, like, what kind of criteria is this? So what if there's
Yeah,
not
again,
billions?
that's not the only criteria. Again, so one criteria would
Yeah.
be to be widespread. I agree, but the second criteria to be actually
Okay,
the last one to claim to be a prophet and actually having miracles. Yeah, actually having miracles, right?
But again, that's what I'm saying. According to Mormons, Joseph Smith had miracles. According to Jehovah's Witnesses, Brigham Young had miracles. This is the point that I'm trying to say. You saying that Muhammad is this is the seal, is the khatam in the being. You saying that, well, anybody can say that. Again, why?
They
Like,
would have to
what
prove
makes
it,
him the
though, right?
seal?
They
Okay,
would
so
have to prove it.
okay, so let's stay here. How do you prove that Muhammad is the seal? For instance, I'll help you because I know you said you have to go. The prophet that came right before Muhammad was Isa. Okay, if Muhammad contradicts Isa, then he cannot be the seal, because the seal of the prophets can't contradict the prophet that came right before him. Because it
I
says
agree.
prophets, plural. Okay, so where can I go to get an authentic teaching of what Jesus taught so we can see if Muhammad really is the seal?
Easy. You can even read the Gospels, and whatever you see that doesn't actually state that Jesus is God. As so far as I've studied throughout the Gospels, I don't find Jesus claiming to be God, by the way, but that's a topic for another day, maybe. I read
But
the
why
Gospels
would I
and
do
see the
that?
true teachings of Christ. I can
Wait,
read the Gospels and see the true teachings of Christ. They are not problematic.
wait. Hold on. So when I go in the Gospels and I go to John chapter 2, and Jesus says that he's going to be unalived and that he'll raise his own body again on the third day from the dead. Is that an Islamic teaching in the Gospels?
Jesus himself saying it, or the biography saying?
No, Jesus himself saying it. It's red letters.
Okay, so he said that I will gonna die and I'm gonna be resurrected.
He says it in John chapter 2, and he says it in John 10. He says it twice in the Gospel of John alone.
Yeah, I don't believe that the belief of crucifixion himself entails belief that Jesus is God. It's not an issue.
No. I'm not worried about Jesus being God right now. Remember, the topic is if Muhammad contradicts Jesus, then he can't be the seal. This is a blatant contradiction. Muhammad says
I agree. I agree.
Okay, thank you. So if that is the case, then that means that Muhammad is not the seal. Because you said we can go to the Gospels. We go to the Gospels. We see a contradiction. Muhammad
Yeah.
can't be the seal.
Okay, so when God says in the Quran that وَمَا قَتَلُوهُ وَمَا صَلَبُوهُ وَلَكِنْ شُبِّهَ لَهُم, does that contradict even Jesus saying that he's going to be crucified?
Yes, because according to the Bible itself, Jesus says that he was the one who was dead. And he
Okay.
was the one that rose, and now he is alive forevermore.
Okay.
The hold on. The Quran says وَلَكِنْ شُبِّهَ لَهُم, that it was only made to appear this way. But Jesus says, no, I was dead.
No, if Jesus, for the sake of the argument, just go with me. If Jesus had the divine knowledge from God himself that the narrative that he is going to die needs to be instilled historically, so maybe he actually needs to say that I'm going to die, right?
He did say that.
No, but Jesus is not.
Brother
But
Maverick,
we
what I'm
also
saying is that
believe that.
throughout my narrative, it still aligns that Jesus has to go with the narrative, right?
No, because then that makes Jesus a liar. Do you believe that
No,
Jesus was the
why?
Kadab?
No, the issue is you believe that the crucifixion is essential for belief in God,
That
Jesus and
has
God.
nothing.
I don't believe it is.
That has. We're not talking about Trinity right now. We're not talking about the deed of Christ. We're just talking about whether or not it's true that Jesus died. We
Okay.
can put the other thing on the shelf.
Why
In the
is the
Bible,
why is the death of Jesus such an essential event for you? Why?
Habibi, Istanabas, just listen to me for a second. In the Quran, it says that it was made to appear. Who was the one that's doing the action, the fa'al? Who was the one that's doing the
God.
verb?
God.
According to God, thank you. Okay. So God says, I didn't really unalive him. I just made it seem like he was unalive. Okay.
Where's the issue?
But in the, okay, I'm going to tell you. In the Bible, in Revelation 1, Jesus himself says, no, I actually was dead. So either Jesus is a liar,
Okay.
either Jesus is the Kazab, or Allah is the liar. Who's lying here?
Jesus didn't lie. Jesus said that he will die according to the narrative. So he is dead according to the narrative. He doesn't need to say. You're saying that he needs to clarify him not being
Bear
actually
Hunter,
dead.
can you show the brother is being so patient with you?
I'm
Where
saying it's not relevant. I'm saying it's not relevant.
Bear, where does it say? Hold on, Bear. Where does Jesus ever say that he died according to the narrative? Where does he say that?
Why does he need to? I don't see.
Because it's fulfillment. Not only is it his prediction, brother. Not only is it his own prediction. It would not only is it the fulfillment of his earthly mission. It is the fulfillment of prophecy written centuries before.
Yeah, we can talk about that later. Whether the prophecies actually are fulfilled by Jesus, or whether the disciples
you want to talk about whether the Old Testament scriptures that are speaking about crucifixion before crucifixion existed actually fulfilled prophecy. Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think I know the verse that says God will be pierced,
But I don't.
something like that.
Yeah, I was just thinking that, Grafted. But this has nothing to do with what I asked you initially.
Nope.
Remember, we're supposed to figure out whether or not Muhammad is the seal. So if Muhammad contradicts Jesus, whether you believe that's Jesus or not. Okay, look, let's do this. Let's just say Jesus didn't say that. Where can I go to get an authentic teaching of Jesus? Don't say, so this is not what I'm looking for. Do not say, well, the parts of the Bible that agree with the Quran, we know are true, because then at that point, I'll just read the Quran. So I'm asking, where can I go to find an authentic teaching of what Jesus actually said?
Like I said, the Gospels give you a general idea of what Jesus taught, and it aligns with what the Quran speaks about. The other books written by Paul and the letters and what's are not actually the teachings of Christ. That's easy.
Okay. So, okay, let's do this. Do you think that it'd be acceptable for me to say that I generally confirm the Quran?
No, but because you don't come after the Quran. Your book doesn't.
It doesn't. It doesn't matter.
It
It's
matters.
not important. No, it doesn't. If I say, hey, I'm gonna generally confirm the Quran. So when it says "Qul huwallahu ahad," ayyuh, sahih, ahsan. But then the other parts, no, I don't take that. I just take one verse. Do you think that that would be acceptable?
No.
Why not?
Because your book, I'll tell you why your book needs to come after the Quran. I'll tell you why your book needs to come after the Quran.
That's not
Because
what I. Hold on, Bear. That's not what I asked. That's not what I asked, bro.
You said your book will do a general confirmation of the Quran. I'm saying general
No, I
confirmation.
said me. I said me.
Oh, you. Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Is that okay that I generally confirm the Quran by taking one verse and rejecting the rest?
No, you don't have a book. You don't have a divine revelation. You don't have prophecies. You're not a prophet.
I mean,
you cannot
just say you got a book, a divine book. You're a
you
prophet.
cannot do a general confirmation.
You made up a book, and you're generally confirming.
I
the
don't
Quran
talk to you, Bear.
comes
I
after.
don't talk to dishonest people.
I'm not talking to you, Habibi. Don't worry.
I don't
I'm talking to him. And get rid of Bear out your name.
You need to learn to be honest like Brother
Get rid of
Maverick.
Bear out your name.
You
You're
need
embarrassing.
you
But
need
yeah,
to
go
learn
ahead.
to be
I mean,
honest.
you wrote a book,
like
bro.
Brother
You got a
Maverick.
revelation. It comes
I
after
don't
the
talk to
Quran,
you, just
and then you got it.
Yeah.
Actually, my
What
name,
Bear said. The original Bear.
my name turned out to be actually working. My name turned out.
Okay, look, listen.
It works, right?
So
Hey guys,
let's take what
just
the original
I mean, real
Bear
quick, just so you
said.
know, I got 3 minutes left. So if you guys can come to some kind of conclusion, that'll be cool. Go ahead.
I mean, we're not going to come to a conclusion.
No, I know,
in 3
but
minutes.
say whatever you because I gotta step out.
I mean, look, I'll just say this. I'll just say this, bro. When it comes to Muhammad being the seal of the prophets, there's no way for you to actually prove it. It's just, well, we believe it because the Quran says so.
Mm-hmm.
And if that's how you want to believe, then okay. But I wouldn't be able to live like that, knowing that this is my worldview and I can't prove it. I just believe it because some guy said so. That's not going to work for me.
Bear. Oh, he's not there. Well, maybe. It did say that his battery was low, so I don't know. Guys, real quick at the end, this is crazy as heck. First of all, I wanted to thank everybody, especially your favorite Arab who came in with 15 gifted memberships, and Fanatic 1000 who sent an additional 5 gifted memberships. If you guys got a membership from one of those 2 individuals, please make sure you thank them. Dude, we also have these are getting the song because we have a $100 super chat from Lazy Cheetah who says, "Love what you do, energy and candor. God bless you and your family. God bless you and your family as well." Thank you so much, Lazy. We more than doubled our super chat goal, so we will be moving into Matthew chapter 2. I know that they're not as good as like Bear and Amin, but we do have a Discord and I'm trying to be more responsible with it, guys. So thank you so much for that super chat, brother. You are absolutely goated. And your favorite Arab again with another $15 super chat who says, "Please read Sahih al-Bukhari 6929 for that guy that's on the prompt." Let's do that right quick. Sahih al-Bukhari, he said 6929. Let's see. Apostates? "As if I am looking at the prophet while he was speaking about one of the prophets whose people have beaten and wounded him. And he was wiping the blood off his face and saying, 'Oh Lord, forgive my people. They do not know.'" Interesting. Sounds like something else that they said that they claimed didn't happen. That sounds like. So guys, having said that, we're going to go ahead and we're going to funk it out to those last couple super chats, man. absolutely 100% amazing. Thank each and every one of you guys for being here. Whether you super chatted or not, I am honestly so humbled by all of you guys. Follow everybody on this panel. Bear the Image, Amin, Grafted, and Buster's Harvest. Apology not included. Follow everybody here. They have an amazing channel. Also, follow Peace Apologetics, guys. She was here in the first stream. We had to restart because TikTok Live Studio just is being TikTok Live Studio, so I had to restart. There wasn't a restriction or anything. Thank God, for the first time in like recent history, I didn't get any restrictions. So thank you guys for all of you guys who gifted, Harvest, La Dueña, all my usuals in TikTok. There's so many. I can't even name them all. Claudia, MJ, Brother, Brucey. Thank you guys all so much, man. I got to get out of here. I got to get to work. I got a special assignment tonight. So that should be fun. Again, follow everybody here. Thank you, Amin. Thank you, Bear, Grafted, Harvest. Thank you, everybody who cooked here today, man. You guys are absolutely amazing. Love each and every one of you. In the name of the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit, I pray that you all walk safely, walk with God. And remember, guys, that the only way to God the Father is through God the Son. Have a good one, guys.